Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, is this the most disappointing season since when? Basketball. Hello, not talking football. Since 2018, 2019, Olin?
Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to remember.
I mean,
they were just coming off the Sweet 16 season the year before.
They went 14-18 that year. That was the last year of Billy Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Now, 2020 COVID year was very disappointing, but for different reasons.
Right. I'm trying to remember who was on that team in 2019 because Tyler Davis didn't come back. I guess you had Nebo.
Well, I got it right here, Olin.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Tyler Davis, Adamon Gilder.
He was still,
DJ Hogg, TJ Starks, Robert Williams, Tony Troca.
The 2000, that sounds like the
17-18 season.
Yeah, that was
that's
a
the
good
year they went 22-13. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying the next year.
Yeah, you're right.
I guess you had Nebo.
I think I got the roster about to be pulled up.
I think you still had Gilder. Yeah, you still had Gilder because I think you still had, maybe you didn't.
Here's the roster for that team.
TJ Starks.
Does it keep pulling up the... It keeps pulling up for some reason, even though I clicked the year, it's pulling up the wrong one.
That's how disappointed they were that you can't even reference them.
I'm going to go to a different site as we're talking. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. This is Coffee Talk, presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. Finally, I think I got it to work, OB. Are you familiar with Savion Flagg?
Yes.
Wendell Mitchell.
Yeah.
TJ Starks.
Okay, yeah.
JJ Chandler, Josh Nebo, Brandon Mahon.
Yeah.
John Walker,
yeah.
Chris Collins, Mark French,
yeah.
Zach Walker, Cameron Allo, Josh Brown, Frank Byers.
Well, that explains a lot.
That does explain a lot.
So I don't think that was necessarily that disappointing. You didn't have players.
You did not have players. This year you have players.
This year you have players. So I think you'd have to go back even further to say this is the most disappointing team since blank. Now, they can still reverse it.
Yeah, I mean, they have 7 losses in SEC play.
Yeah.
They go 11-7, which, look, I'm just saying.
That would definitely reverse it.
That would, then we'd be like, dude, remember that day?
They did it again.
They did. They finished strong, baby.
They
by the way,
did what Buzz teams do.
It is possible for that to happen.
Of course it's possible. Now it's going to have to start with a win over Tennessee, who you've already beaten.
And you didn't just beat them.
Yeah,
you beat that.
Housed them.
Haha.
But they got to do it on the road, where they haven't been very good.
Well, there's that whole point. Look, you got to present both sides of the story. The season is not over. It is a disappointing feel right now. It doesn't feel like they're going to be able to dig their way out of disappointment. Doesn't mean they can't make the tournament. You go 11-7. I think everybody before SEC play started would have been like, all right, it's not what I wanted, but I'll take it.
I'd take 10-8.
Heck yeah,
right
you'll
now.
take 10-8. Will you take 9-9 right now?
You know what? They're good enough to go to finish 10-8.
Yeah.
Tennessee, I think, is going to be a hard get. Really difficult. Yep. They're going to be underdogs as well. They should be on the road. But after that, there's not a game. There's not an opponent left, including South Carolina. And they're coming here that I would look at them and say, okay, that team's just better than A&M.
But when you think about the SEC overall, LSU is not very good. They just beat Kentucky last night, and they beat A&M here handily. Mm-hmm. Okay, the SEC, there is room for movement in the SEC. Florida lost a great game yesterday against Alabama. I think it went overtime.
Yeah.
Look, there's some movement possible. The SEC is very crowded. 9-9 might get you in.
You're maybe 9-9 might get you into the NCAA.
You think 10-8 guarantees that they're in?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think 10-8 you're in.
Yeah.
Because to go 10-8, you've lost Tennessee, but you've beaten South Carolina.
Does a 4-game losing streak? They're at a 3-game losing streak, but does a 4-game losing streak? Could that be so much that you can't get over it?
I don't think so. I don't think a 4-game. I think you can probably find a lot of teams with 4-game losing streaks that are going to be in.
Well, I'm not going to grade Buzz Williams as of today. Okay, I'm not. Right? I'm going to wait till the end of the season. I will tell you it's a disappointment. But Saturday Down South has graded every coach in college SEC basketball. And Buzz comes in with, if you were to guess the grade that they gave him, what would you guess?
C.
C-. Okay. The Aggies were amongst the favorites to win the league in the preseason, returning multiple starters, including the preseason SEC Player of the Year, Wade Taylor, from a team that won 25 games last year. At present, the Aggies remain in the NCAA tournament, a 10 seed, and then 1 out of their last 4 invites per bracket matrix. But an NCAA tournament bid was bare minimum anticipated for Williams in his 5th year in College Station. There's a lot more, they say. Yeah. You can go to Saturday Down South for that.
Hopefully, we'll see something along the lines of A&M before Buzz got here in 2018 when they just had a miserable streak and barely got into the tournament and then ended up – what a great weekend that was in Charlotte. They ended up beating Providence in the first round and then just destroyed North Carolina, and what I think was the greatest weekend of basketball, maybe in A&M history.
So other grades, just to I'm going to throw you out the name. You tell me what you think they got. Nate Oates.
Oh, he's got an A.
A, absolutely. Eric Musselman.
Probably a C.
Got an F.
An F. An F.
An F.
All the way down to an F. Yeah, okay, yeah, I was probably being too nice.
Year 5.
Maybe I'd have said a D.
Yeah, F. Auburn, Bruce Pearl.
Probably an A.
A- is what they gave him. Florida, Todd Golden.
You know,
I'd probably give him an A.
Yeah, I think I would too. As much as I was put off by his post-game press conference here, they're better than I think anybody thought they'd be.
He gave him a B+.
Okay.
All right. Georgia, Mike White, C-.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to Georgia, to be honest with you. Kentucky, John Calipari.
A D.
They gave him an incomplete.
Go ahead and sell out.
We're built for March, the much maligned Hall of Fame told the media after Kentucky dropped their 3rd consecutive game at Rupp Arena. Yep.
Yeah, and now they just lost to LSU.
How about LSU, Matt McMahon?
B.
They give him a C.
Okay.
Now, I think this was written right before yesterday's game.
Yeah, okay, well, there's that. And I was going to say, they nothing was expected of them.
Right.
In fact, I think some thought they would finish last. So I think they've done a pretty decent job over there.
Mississippi State head coach Chris Jans. They give him a B-. Yeah, they give him a B-. And Missouri, Dennis Gates.
An F.
They give him a D.
A D, okay.
Has so far the only F. Did anybody get it? Yeah.
Musselman.
Musselman got an F. Ole Miss, Chris Beard.
Probably C+.
They give him a B+.
Okay.
Beard was dismissed from Texas, yada, 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 and he advanced of a national championship game at Texas Tech, one of the game's best teachers. Okay, cool. South Carolina, Lamont Paris.
A.
Give him an A+. Yeah. The best coaching job in the sport this season with the tip of the hat to Washington State's Kyle Smith, it says here. Tennessee, Ricardo Barnes.
B.
Give him an A.
Okay.
Buzz Williams, obviously, the next one. Here's one for you. Jerry the Stackhouse.
Man, if that's not an F, I don't know. Maybe they gave him a D.
They gave him an F. That F beat our coach, unfortunately, this year. So that's the grading there for Saturday Down South. Look, I kind of agree with an incomplete for everybody because there's so much parity in this conference.
If you're going to say we're going to grade it up till now.
Up till now.
How do you throw in an incomplete?
But I would say for Buzz, I think I'm fine with the C.
Well, I mean, I think it's...
And by the way, that doesn't take into account some of the waters he's had the chart. Like, there have been some issues with this year. Every team has issues. Every year there's a team with injuries and people who transfer, people that can't play. So he's had to deal with it. I think the biggest problem is not finding a recipe offensively that works consistently.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to bring, and I don't know what the guy's criteria that wrote that, but if you're going to bring injuries into it and having to, use that as kind of a curving system, then Musselman shouldn't have got an F because they've had all kinds of issues.
Yep. He doesn't write down his criteria. He just gives them his eyeball test.
But what I have an issue with that is if I was his editor, I would say you go back and you come up with a grade for Calipari. If you're going to say up till now, then you can't say incomplete because it's up till now.
Let me read a little bit about what he says about Kentucky, just so we can kind of understand his thought process there. Kentucky, John Calipari, why incomplete? Because what happens with Cal this year will almost exclusively be judged on what happens next month. We're built for March, the much maligned head coach or Hall of Famer told the media after Kentucky dropped their record third consecutive game. Suddenly, it looks like Kentucky might be able to play defense after all. Welcome development for Kentucky fans, blah, blah, blah. Thanks to Reed Shepherd, Rob Dillingham, one of the SEC's best guards.
Again, obviously then his deal was not up till now. It was like he's projecting how they're going to finish.
Yeah.
Okay, but quite frankly, I think you'd have to, at the very best, I'd give Calipari a C- now, especially now that we know that they lost to LSU.
Right. Did you have any problems this morning with your cell phone?
None at all.
Mine is stuck on SOS. And let's see. Haven't been able to make phone calls. Nick texted me when I was connected to Wi-Fi. I was going to respond to him. I responded to him to my drive. I wasn't connected to Wi-Fi. What is happening? Are they attacking us?
Sometimes I get in trouble when I
I probably shouldn't have asked you
give
that.
my theories and opinions on this. I just say that it was not that long ago that there were these unidentified flying objects that turned out to be balloons from another country hovering over our country.
I've been going down. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I've been watching a lot of, I don't want to say conspiracy is the right word, but just we better watch out videos in the United States.
Yeah, maybe people are starting to
Preppers.
pay attention.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, when it comes to the Aggies, basketball, football, baseball, we can do it at 979-693-1150. You can call us up on that number, or you can text us on that same number. 979-693-1150 is the number. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Gardner's there, by the way. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. I'll be gathering there at the Little Elm. I was going to say Dallas location. Little Elm location. They're in the Metroplex on Saturday, March 2nd with Billy Lucci for a couple hours. Hopefully you can come hang out with us. Callie, what's popping?
Good morning. How are we?
Good.
We
Good.
are good.
We are good.
We're good. Yeah.
We're good.
We're good.
How are you?
Those of us with phone
I'm
service.
good. Those of us with what?
Phone service.
Well,
We're doing
not
well.
me. I'm not included in that. Those of us with phone service.
Oh,
I do not
you're
have
out
it.
too?
I'm out too. My whole
SOS?
fam. SOS.
Team Verizon,
Unfortunately.
Team AT&T. Who are we?
AT&T.
Yeah, they got us.
Yeah, they did.
It's over.
It's okay. I'm doing good. I am really high on our baseball team right now. I'm really excited about them. Jace Lavalette is killing it. He has 5 home runs in 4 games. And just a little tidbit, the single season home run record is held by Dalen Holt, and he set that in 1999 at A&M. He hit 34 home runs in 70 games. So, Jace,
Do we
can keep an
know,
eye.
maybe at the break you can look it up for us, how many Holt hit after 4 games?
Ooh, I don't know. I tried to look it up, but I don't know if the stats went that far back to 99 as far as individual games.
On pace guy. Are you on pace guy whenever you're like, he's on pace to hit 48 home runs?
I calculated it, like if he played 70 games and he had 5 through 4, and it was like 87 or something.
He would hit 87 homers?
Through 70 games. Mm-hmm.
I'm counting on it.
Yeah, I mean, if
86
that
or
happens.
So
Okay, if he hits, how many home runs you said again?
it was like 86 or 87. It was above 80 for sure.
Let's just round down
80.
to 80.
If he hits 80, will you do a mohawk for the entire year?
No.
If he hits 80,
I will not.
a mohawk for the entire year?
No.
Okay,
I will not.
a tattoo of me on one bicep and Billy on the other.
No.
If he hits 80 home runs,
No.
That would almost double the record set by any player.
I will
in a
do the
single season.
reverse mohawk.
You'll do the faux hawk?
Just skin right down the middle, but leave my hair on the other side.
Deal. 80 home runs set on the air.
Yeah, 80 home runs.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. All right. If he hits 50.
No, he's going to hit 50 because he's Jay Slavelet.
Okay, fine. What else, Callie?
We have a 3-game series against Wagner this weekend, and despite losing all 3 games this past weekend to UNC, Wagner put up 14 runs against their pitching staff. So it'll be exciting to see our pitching staff hopefully shut them down this weekend at Bluebell Park. Lamara Diston, who is on our track and field team, earned Women's Scholar Athlete of the Year, which is super awesome, along with Mackenzie Long from Ole Miss, the only 2 to win the award. Basketball is at Tennessee this weekend. The game is at 7 p.m. and it is on ESPN, so make sure to tune into that. Tennessee has won all 3 of their games since losing at Reed Arena, and A&M has done the opposite. So hopefully we can turn that around and go win a game in Knoxville this weekend.
It's a great atmosphere at Thompson Bowling. I've been there many times.
Yeah. Yep.
Never been, but I've heard it's intimidating for sure. So hopefully we can pull it out. And then we've got a home game against South Carolina on Wednesday at 7:30. So make sure to come out for that and support your Aggies. Softball is 9-0 on the year. They are moving up in the ranks. They're 16 in D1 softball and 17th according to ESPN. They have a stacked schedule this weekend. They have a game against Southeastern Louisiana today at 5:15, and they won 47 games last year. So hopefully the Aggies can pull it off against them. They have 2 tomorrow against St. Thomas and North Dakota State, 2 on Sunday against Kansas, and then 1 more against North Dakota State, and then 1 on Sunday at 2 o'clock against UTSA.
Olin, she brought up the pitching, and it's obviously the huge storyline with this baseball team. If you were to pick one thing for the big 3 sports, right, that determines success, I think we'd agree. For football, if we had to pick one thing, offensive line?
Yeah.
Baseball, pitching?
Pitching.
Based on what they already have, right? Basketball, shooting?
Yeah.
If we had to simplify, I mean, obviously it's never that simple.
But you know what's really, to me, and yeah, shooting's the answer, right? But to me, what's kind of disturbing is they're just not playing defense at the level that we're, in my opinion, at the level that we've grown accustomed to.
It's not the intent. Like there were a couple plays in that game where their intensity was shot up a level and they were forcing turnovers, and then they kind of backed off that intensity.
Well, plus, first of all, I think it's always hard to maintain that kind of intensity.
Sure.
But they're just not their players just aren't as good as they were last year. Dexter Dennis ain't out there. Julius Marble ain't out there.
Yep.
There's just
the roster isn't as good.
It's not as good.
And yet, we still see a path for this team to have won a bunch of those games.
They are within. I'm holding my finger and thumb just barely apart from each other. They're this close for being a 4 seed.
Yep.
You know, again, you're shooting free throws in the final minute to take the lead against Houston. You took FAU down to the wire. You lost on the last second shot to Vanderbilt and Arkansas. Give me those 4 wins that were all, within reach. And against FAU, you didn't have Boots and you didn't have Coleman.
Yeah.
But you can't give me those 4 wins. But you're not a bad basketball team, but you're playing bad basketball.
Which over a course of a season sometimes means you're a bad basketball team.
But because they're not a bad basketball team, there is the possibility that they
finish out strong.
That they turn things around and finish strong. Because I guarantee you give me Boots Radford and Wade Taylor and Henry Coleman and Anderson Garcia.
Yep.
I've got a heck of a chance to beat you.
You do. Those 4 right there, and throw in whoever. Solo.
Jace Carter.
Jace Carter's been playing much better.
His best basketball of the season right now.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with a little bit more. I do want to talk about expanded playoffs. More expansion for the expansion. I can tell by Obi's face.
We're talking about football or basketball?
Actually, football, but we can make it.
Because I heard
basketball.
I heard Mike Krzyzewski calling for making the NCAA tournament 90 games or 90 teams.
Yeah. You know what? Let's just invite everybody.
Yeah, let's give everybody a participation trophy.
That's the world we live in. Let's talk about the Association of Former Students, by the way, guys. They got career opportunities there. If you need a reason to come back to Aggie Land beyond a football game, a basketball game, or a baseball game, or a volleyball game, or golf, whatever it may be, why don't you try to work here, live here, be a part of that life there at the Association of Former Students, because they're looking for great opportunities to help Aggies with a company that does it the best. The Association of Former Students is looking to hire professionals And they have positions open in fundraising, former student programs, and much, much more. They are the nation's premier alumni association and the oldest organization serving A&M in support of that Aggie network. And they play a part in each and every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Green Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies the Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that Aggie network. If you're interested in joining a team or sharing with someone who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/associationjobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. Hey, everybody. We're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, you're chuckling.
Oh, no, just because what I told you off the air, I was just kind of thinking about that and laughing. You want to share or you don't want to share?
So
and Gordon, we'll get to your phone call here in a second.
Gordon, I'm going to do this fast. So I got a text message from our friend Bob Holt up in Arkansas last night.
Yep.
And he's always keeping up with the SEC basketball because that's his job. And he said, is your son among the students who stormed the court for LSU? At the time, I didn't even know LSU beat Kentucky.
Right.
So I said, well, no, he was in the process of of him and his team getting kicked out of the LSU intramural leagues for fighting.
I can appreciate that.
I'm sure my son was talking a lot of trash. That's probably what led to the fight.
When you guys used to play ball on the driveway, would he talk trash?
Oh yeah. I remember one time he's like 10, and I'm letting him win because he's 10, and he says, "You're getting schooled by a little boy."
And that you turned it on at that point.
I blocked a couple of shots just to remind him, and then I let him win.
Yeah. It was interesting. Yesterday I'm working upstairs, and then there's this chatter going on in the lobby, and then I hear Billy Lucci yell, "Yoda!" He calls me Yoda. And I come down, and it was just about how he beat me in basketball, how he lifts more than me, and then everybody's piling on. You didn't pile on. You were actually very nice.
I think he was just talking about backing you down because he's strong.
That ain't going to happen.
I didn't know he used to work out on 250 on his bench press.
I mean, yeah, he's a strong dude. He does. When he works out, he brings it. All right, let's go to the hotline. We've got a phone call from Gordon who wants to talk a little Aggie baseball. Gordon, welcome into TexAgs Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Good.
Well, thank you. How are you?
Doing great. Listen, I have a question for both of you about the way Jace is knocking the cover off the ball. He reminds me of Wally Moon, the way he hits those shots. That one over the center field wall was reminiscent of Wally Moon.
It was a moon shot.
And the moon shots. And I told the young lady I wanted to talk to you guys about Jason Wally Moon.
Yeah.
And she said, Jason who? She'd never heard of Wally. But anyway.
A lot of us haven't. What?
Wally Moon was born in 1930.
Okay.
So he played at A&M in what?
Probably the 50s.
The mid-50s.
Yeah. You didn't watch him play, did you?
Yes, I did. He was one of my heroes. I graduated from Bryan High School in 1957, and Wally Moon was one of my heroes. And I knew Wally personally. His mother-in-law was at the nursing home with my mother, and I would see Wally about twice a week. And we would sit down and talk about Aggie baseball. Wally was a super guy. And I would like to advocate for two things. I've been advocating to get a statue of Wally put at Olsen Field for a long time as a memorial to a great Aggie and a great baseball player. I think that would be totally fitting to have a statue of Wally Moon at Olsen Field. And the other thing I would like to try to start a movement is to tag Jace with the nickname or the moniker Moon Lavalette. Do you think there's any chance we could tag him with that moniker Moon?
I'm going to allow Olin Buchanan to start the process. You know what? Your next headline. Moonshot. Like Wally Moon. Jace Lavalette. 2 home runs against.
Well, maybe Roninger, since he's actually on the radio and calling the games.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Okay.
I think they should then, though, maybe put a statue of Wally Moon and then Jace Lavalette and Boomer White and some others, and we'll call it the Moon and the Stars.
There you go.
He did the look. Hey, Gordon, I'm going to read. You do this look like. I'm going to read the stats for Wally Moon for you. In the MLB, 289 career batting average, 142 home runs, 661 RBIs, 3-time All-Star, 57, 59, 59. It says twice. Okay. 3-time World Series champion, by the way, 59, 1963, 1965, NL Rookie of the Year, and Golden Glove winner. He played for 2 teams. Looks like the Cardinals and the Dodgers. How about that?
Correct.
All right.
Well, Gordon, I appreciate the phone call, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for what you guys. Thank you.
Maybe when Jace Lavalette tell him that, and maybe when he comes to bat, everybody has a walk-up song. Maybe his walk-up song can be CCR's Bad Moon Rising.
Bam. Shazam.
Bam.
No, I don't think it's going to play out the way I had a
Blue Moon.
I felt like you the other day because Richard Zane had a tweet out about Jace Lavalette, and I put the nickname for him of more of it. Lavalette.
I think LaViolence is the one that's going to stick with.
He's got another one. But you know what I appreciate about Gordon's phone call? We don't have enough of that because, like, I did not have a lot of frame of reference when it came to Wally Moon. And then, like, when you talk to youngsters, the NBA started with LeBron and Russell Westbrook and those guys, right? There was a whole era that does not get in the discussion, right? That was significantly better, right? And same thing with baseball. And I did not watch Wally Moon play, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I wasn't born in the 50s. But there is not enough of a frame of reference sometimes for what the older generation did.
I like the guy that will call up and say, I saw this, and this guy reminds me of it, and that's fine. That was a nice call.
It was a great call. Gordon,
thank you, Gordon.
You call back. Can you guys top that phone call, 979-693-1150? I don't think you can. I want to see you do it. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll come back. I do want to talk about the expanded playoffs. I want to get your thoughts, OB. Okay. All right? And I want to see what one-liners you have for us on that one. Right now, we're talking Brazos Running Company. They're located there at Century Square. They are Aggie-owned and operated a specialty running store with an outstanding selection of all the running gear you want. They've got it all, guys. They've got the shoes. They've got the gear. You name it. They've got Brooks. They've got On. They've got Hoka. They've got New Balance. They've got it all out there. If you're a runner, or walker, or interested in fitness, the right shoe makes all of the difference there. And at Brazos Running Company, they're passionate about running and finding the right shoe for you. They're going to help you find the right shoe because they're going to look at your gait. They're going to see how you step and the kind of mileage you're putting on, and they're going to find that right shoe for you. They've also got Birkenstock. They got Vuori, one of the hottest brands out there. So make sure when you're ready for some athletic wear, for shoes or whatever, you go to the Brazos Running Company there at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. And we're back on TexAgs Radio. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Something about that last call, the Wally Moon shot out. When people evaluate older players, they think that YouTube is the only way. And I think YouTube is, or old highlights is a way of evaluating, but I think you almost have to live in that era to truly be able to. Because watching a highlight, the game was played at a different pace, at a different level for whatever reason. Games change, right? And I don't think that you can go watch Michael Jordan highlights on YouTube to really feel his greatness. You had to almost live it.
Yeah, I'm confident enough to say that Michael Jordan would be the best player in the NBA today if he was in his prime.
Oh,
I have no doubt.
I have no doubt in my mind either. Yeah.
And you know what? I knew a guy that I really respected and was a great basketball mind that I worked with up in Tennessee, and he was convinced that Kobe Bryant was better than Michael Jordan.
Sure.
I disagreed, but at least respected his opinion. But I don't think there's anybody playing today, yes, including anybody in Los Angeles, that is better than Michael Jordan.
All right, what about in baseball? Who's the best baseball player you ever watched play? Is it Barry?
Maybe Griffey Jr. At least he did.
Yeah, Ken Griffey was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was.
And, you know, how about this when he was healthy, at his peak? Like, if you're talking about just for 1 year, was anybody for 1 year better than Bo Jackson?
Oh, my goodness. Ichiro's pretty darn good. But, yeah, Bo Jackson.
Remember him catching those balls in center field where he ran up
yeah.
He was pretty amazing.
If I remember correctly, he and Wade Boggs, I don't know why these random things, started off the All-Star game when it mattered with home runs, back-to-back jacks back in like 89.
Now, I wasn't alive or coherent enough to see Mickey Mantle. Okay, so maybe.
That's my dad's favorite player of all time.
Mickey Mantle?
Mickey Mantle followed by Joe DiMaggio, or Joe DiMaggio followed by Mickey Mantle.
So, I obviously was not able to make and we don't even have as good of footage to judge those players as there is today for the players in the 80s and 90s.
We got another Wally Moon phone call.
Okay.
This is the Wally Moon hour. Let's do it. The honeymooners here. Coach Horn on the line wants to talk a little bit about Wally Moon. Coach Horn, welcome to TexAgs.
Guy that was just on, but 1958, I was a Little League All-Star, and actually got to see Wally on TV that we first got in the middle 50s or whatever. But I did see some, and during that era too, as a big Brave fan, and I actually got in person to see people like Warren Spahn, Hall of Famers, Lou Burdett, Eddie Matthews, Hank Aaron. I actually got to see them when they came to Houston, played out in the old Colt 45 stadium, and you had to take a small tennis racket to those games too, because mosquitoes out there were about as big as a bird or whatever. But anyway, I go way back and love baseball.
Love it. I love it. In fact, more of that. Coach Horn, thanks for your phone call. Appreciate you very, very much.
What I'm getting from this is Jace Lavalette is conjuring up images
memories
of great players here. So that's a good thing.
That's a great thing. He's just a sophomore. And if you listen to him talk, I love when, I think sometimes when you're not satisfied, it can be a bad thing, right? Like you can just dread but when the mistakes are what eat at you at night, even after a great, 2 home runs, come on, right? And he's still upset about the couple strikeouts and the minute he left on base. That just tells you a lot about him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out and watching him play with my own eyes.
If you want to be a part of the conversation, 979-693-1150, 2 Wally Moon phone calls. Can we get a Jace phone call? Can we get a Connor Wigman phone call? Can we get a Boots Radford phone call? How about that? 979-693.
Can we get a moon pie? I bet you've never had a moon pie.
I've never had a moon pie, no.
Yeah. Do you know what they are?
Of course.
Oh, yeah. With an RC Cola?
Of course I've had an RC Cola.
Well, the moon pie pairs well with an RC Cola.
I don't believe in pairing. I'm not a pairer.
Up in, I think they were moon pie. I think they were invented in Nashville. So you go there, and they're all over the place.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, Obi, should we, you know what? Maybe because we're running out of time this segment, we still got a little bit of time. Did you watch any or read any of Johnny Manziel's comments?
I read about it. I heard about it. And the main thing I heard about was basically saying that Kevin Sumlin fumbled the ball with Kyler Murray. Wholeheartedly agree. Of course, we talked about it back then in 2013, how the coach botched that whole situation. 2014. I thought, or whenever it was, maybe it was 2015. It all kinds of runs together for me. But they botched that.
Yep.
And I think Kyler Murray, had they handled that whole thing well, hey, don't promise things that you're not going to deliver. And I think Kyler Murray would have been a star and maybe a Heisman Trophy winner here.
One of the things Johnny said was the way they handled that is part of the reason our program is still struggling today, because those could have been some pretty darn good years had it worked out with Kyler. And,
imagine the players that would have wanted to come here to play with Kyler.
Well, he says it's the best. I listened to half or maybe more than half of the interview with Shannon Sharp. A lot of stuff I knew, like, we're Aggies. We're plugged in. We saw the documentary on Netflix, but was that he said Kyler Murray is the best high school player he's ever watched.
I don't know how you can, especially in this state, I don't know how you can argue with it.
Yeah.
And he's a true freshman. They finally started him. They win a couple of games and they lose to Auburn. When they moved the ball between the 20s, but they couldn't score. And typical of someone, he blames the quarterback and makes the change. And, a month later, you lose both quarterbacks.
And why do they recruit? I mean, I understand the why. I mean, you want as much talent as possible, but that seems like in the same class to take 2 5-stars. That just seems like,
Well,
someone. It's in today's world.
They were in separate classes.
Were they separate classes? Okay.
Because Kyle Allen was a sophomore.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you could see I think I could see the difference in the, caliber. I mean, just from the running and everything, Kyler was so far ahead to me. But it is my understanding Jake Spavital favored Kyle Allen.
Okay.
So as a head coach, you got to step in and say, yeah, I think we're going to go this way.
So here's something that came from it. Johnny did say that his dad tried to broker a $3 million deal on his behalf to return for the 2014 season. And he did it without his dad. I mean, his dad did it without his knowledge.
So you know what that tells me? Because there are going to be people all over the country who's going to jump out at that. I'm going to say, shows me A&M didn't cheat. He didn't come back. A&M could certainly afford it if they wanted to.
$3 million is not that much money.
No, hey, they spent a fifth of that replacing the grass at Kyle Field. What was $600,000? So that's my takeaway from that. First of all, that Mr. Manziel, if Johnny's saying it, was trying to do something shady, and A&M said that ain't the way we do things here. So when the national media, when and if they jump on that and try to say, oh, see what was going on at A&M, say, what's the story that A&M said no?
Well, Johnny did say, he's like, every program has a bad guy. Alabama's been doing it for 30 years, yada, yada, yada. So they all have it. And he says he would have come back for 2 years had they given him the $3 million. I don't know if that would have made a difference in Johnny's trajectory, because I think Johnny at that point was a lost person. I mean, and he talks about how depressed he was in Cleveland, not wanting to get out of bed when LeBron would invite him to come hang out.
2 more years in College Station, even 1 more year, I think would have done Johnny good. He needed to mature. And maybe he never would have, but it definitely wouldn't have hurt him.
Well, he did say he needed Cliff Kingsbury for that. That Cliff was the one guy that could get to him, that had his back from day one, who could talk to him a certain way. One of the parts of the story, I'm sure he said this before on other podcasts, I just don't remember hearing it, was the first time Cliff went to go visit him in high school, and Cliff told him straight up, I don't have a scholarship for you, but every coach I've talked to says I need to watch you, and I'm here, so go ball out. And apparently he balled out.
I'll just say this, last thing. If only the rules had stayed the same, you had to play 4 years, or 5. To this day, the passing combination of Johnny Manziel to Mike Evans, had they played together 4 years, would be considered without a doubt the most prolific in college football history. People would always reference that. Oh yeah, remember that Manziel to Evans combination? Mm-hmm. It would have been legendary.
Well, this was a mature statement from Johnny. He says it's not the stadium that Johnny built, Kyle Field. It's Mike Evans and Luke Jokel and Jake Matthews.
There was some guy that was trying to curry favor and wanted to put Kyle Field, the house that Johnny built. He wanted to have that on the the official title, and then a lot of players pushed back on that and said, "Well, then I'll never come." Yeah, but that happens. Everybody gets excited about something, like everybody was at that time, and there's always somebody that's trying to cash in on it by saying, "Hey, see what great idea I came up with," and it was stupid.
There's talk.
It was almost as dumb as when they said they wanted to block out. I can't remember who it was. When they were increasing the seating capacity, wanted to put 12 seats that nobody would ever sit in for the 12th man. I say, hey, dipstick. It was one guy. If you want to do it, you do it for one seat. You didn't have 12 guys standing there waiting to go in.
You just write the number 12 on it.
Anyway, that's my rant for this morning.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with buy, sell, or lease. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Go there to start your search for a new vehicle. If you're thinking about a car, really consider coming to the Brazos Valley to Caldwell to find your vehicle, because at Caldwell Country Chevrolet, they're going to make the process easy for you. They're going to find you the right vehicle at the right price point with the right trade-in value, and of course, exemplary customer service. That's kind of the whole shebang when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. A great staff who wants to help you find the right vehicle for you, and they'll do it from the beginning of the process to even after the process. They're going to follow up with you. They've got the complimentary pickup for all of their service customers out there. They're proud supporters of Aggie Athletics. And that's why, many Aggies go there over and over again, like R.C. Slocum, who only buys his cars there from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Dante Hall has gotten his cars there from Caldwell Country. I've gotten mine as well. Billy, you name it. It's about a 15-minute drive, the very edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Several texts have come in, Jared and Forrest and Wellican, saying that the 12 empty seats were for the 12 Aggies who died at the bonfire collapse. Forrest and Wellican follows that up. But actually, I found the statement from John Sharp back in 2014. The planned 12-man seats, which will be left open in the second deck of the seat stands of redeveloped Kyle Field, are living and visible tribute to the spirit of all members of the 12th man who have come before at Texas A&M. It's a symbol of respect for all students and former students who have hard work and sacrifice went into making the land-grant university what it is today. And it goes on to say.
See, so, and coming back to my point, so, hey, we're going to do this for the 12th man. Well, the 12th man, you already got 11 guys out there. The 12th man was one guy. So if you're going to do it, it needs to be one. And I have no doubt that there was some revisionist history saying, oh, well, let's do, that was a bad idea, so let's try to spin it that we meant it this way. But that's
it can mean multiple things.
But what I'm talking about is just what you read.
Right. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, play a little buy, sell, lease. OB, we came up with a NFL one for us. Usually Stephen McGee's here with us. He's busy today. So, Ms. Gardner, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so buy, sell, lease NFL quarterbacks potentially on the move from their current teams. I'll give you Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, and Russell Wilson.
So let's go through the scenarios.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson falling out of favor in Denver pretty quickly, right? Kirk Cousins, every team he plays for actually likes him, but they can't wait to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. And Baker Mayfield had a phenomenal year. Mm-hmm. Might lose Mike Evans. If they lose Mike Evans, are they going to do everything they can to keep Baker Mayfield? So buy, sell, lease. And I guess it could be the way it can be phrased is most likely to leave.
Most likely to leave, okay.
And then we can also kind of break it down.
So I'm
the better
buying
one.
the idea that the most likely to leave, I would say, is Russell Wilson.
You could tell that
huge contract.
Yep.
He's old. Now I don't know where he is in his contract. He's up there in years. It's been a disaster. Let's find somebody else. Move on. My least, as far as leaving, would be Kirk Cousins. I think the Vikings are probably going to be looking to draft a quarterback. Just like I wouldn't be surprised.
But would he train him? Be a coach and quarterback in training?
That might depend on what round the quarterback was taken in.
Yeah.
If he's a first rounder, can you afford them both?
First rounder, you're expected to play now, right?
Well, maybe not necessarily right away, but like I remember when the Colts had Peyton Manning and was in position to draft Andrew Luck, couldn't afford them both.
Right.
And then I think Baker Mayfield will be. I'm selling the idea that he's leaving. I think he'll be the quarterback of the Bucs next year.
Yeah. And what do his numbers look like without Mike Evans if Mike Evans does end up going?
Well, they probably won't be as good, but is the next guy going to catch half as many passes as Mike, right?
Right.
So maybe completes 40 fewer passes, or, I don't know that his numbers are going to completely tank.
I want to read this because I found this to be an awesome quote. Kenny Dillingham, the Arizona State coach. I literally spent 9 years of my life doing anything to become a coffee boy. So don't give me that, it's hard to be a coach right now. Yeah, it's hard. If it's so hard, quit.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
That's why you get paid insane amounts of money to do a hard job. And that's why I laugh at Mike Krzyzewski, who everybody respects, but when he says, hey, we need to put 90 teams in the NCAA tournament because coaches are judged on getting into the NCAA tournament. So, if you win 20 games and don't get in, that's not fair. Like, hey, then win the games that matter to get you in.
But I will say this. When you are the one that the game is passing you by, right, it is much harder to adjust than when you are so hungry. Like, I'm just talking about early in my journalism career. I would have done anything. Billy, you want coffee? I got you.
Sure. That's what you're
Brandon,
supposed to
you
do.
want me to
work on the weekend? Yeah, I'm here.
Right, and we do it now.
Sure.
But I don't know if we're as there's a different kind of hunger, but also we have different things we focus on because at this point it's more about the content than building your reputation or your resume.
You can right now you can criticize, a lot of people are Buzz Williams, but Buzz did everything he had to do and did the tough work and all the networking and every hoop that you had to jump through to create a coaching career for himself.
Yep.
To get where he is now.
I love that bite, though, because I think we're going to see a changing of the guard. We're seeing a changing of the guard. And it'll be interesting who comes out as the dude in this era of college football.
Yeah, might be Lane Kiffin.
Might be. Johnny Manziel thinks it might be Deion Sanders.
Might be. But Lane sure has been active in the transfer portal and made it work for him.
Yeah, and he's so young that he's still, he's old in the coaching ranks because he's been doing it now for a while, but he's still young enough to be able to adapt to some of the changes.
And I'm just guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing he could X and O his way around Deion Sanders all day long.
All right. OB, thank you, sir.
All right.
That is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Happy times coming ahead. Jim Schlossnagle, Richard Zane. We'll talk a little baseball when we come back here on TexAgs Radio. I was a little worried, Richard. We got this cyber attack or whatever's happening with cell phones. I was like, we're not going to get Schloss but phone lines are working here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We go to the hotline, and we are joined by Jim Schlossnagle. How you doing, Schloss? Good morning, sir.
Morning, guys. How are y'all?
Good, man. Good. Let's obviously we want to look ahead, but just how pleased are you with the first 4 games this year?
Yeah, I mean, certainly am pleased as you can be in terms of the results. Feel like we've thrown a lot of strikes, put together good at bats. We've been able to get guys in the games that need to play. Just need to keep moving it forward.
Which aspect of the game have you been most pleased with? Your pitching staff's got like 47 strikeouts to 7 walks. Your offense is hitting 11 home runs in 4 games. So is it the offense for you, or is it the pitching staff that really has you pleased at the early returns?
Obviously the pitching. I mean, the offense is that's sexy. It's certainly you need to score to win. But you know, if we just get strike throwers on the mound and limit free bases, you know, that'll give us a chance, because we're certainly going to face much better. I mean, we've faced a few good pitchers, but we're certainly, when you're in the SEC, you're going to face the elite of the elite. Hitting can come and go, even if you're not facing a good pitcher. You can have a bad day, the wind can blow in. You can hit balls right at people. You can not get 2 out hits, right? So that's the part of the game that most people don't understand. You can play well and lose, but if the pitching is throwing strikes, then that'll give us a great chance on most days.
Talking to Jim Schlossnagle here on TexAgs Radio. I do want to ask you about the health of Jackson Appel after that collision at the end of the game the other day. How's he doing?
That's a good question. I haven't even asked him. I'm assuming he's fine. He wasn't on the injury report. You don't see a pitcher catch too many pop-ups, and I can definitely say that I've never seen a pitcher catch 2 in one game or even 2 back-to-back. So I think they just banged heads, but he hit. We didn't do much in practice yesterday, but he hit in the cages. So I'm assuming he's fine.
Good news
but I'll
there.
find out today.
Great news there about Jackson Appel. But then the other guy we're kind of interested in from a health standpoint is Tanner Jones. I know you spoke earlier this week and said that he was going to throw a bullpen. What is his status and availability going to be for you heading into this weekend against Wagner?
As of right now, assuming everything stays true to form going into the weekend, we'll pitch him once, probably just for about an inning this weekend, more than likely in a start on Sunday. But we'll see. We'll just make sure he continues to feel good.
So, am I understanding correctly? What if he's going to start Sunday, or if that's the plan on Sunday? What does the rest of the rotation look like this weekend, Coach?
As of now, we'll throw Prager in game 1. We'll throw Lampkin in game 2. We have a couple bullpen guys that I need to see how they're feeling, specifically Wansing and Caden Wilson, see if they're available, because that certainly affects our bullpen from a left-handed pitcher standpoint. But we'll, we'll throw those first 2 lefties in the first 2 games. We'll do whatever we have to do to win them, and then try to get Tanner Jones to start.
Talking to Jim Schlossnagle here on TexAgs Radio. Is there a plan for pitch count for the starters this weekend?
They'll get to that 70, somewhere hopefully between 75 and 90, just depending on how the games go. Tanner will be much shorter than that.
Jim, how about Chris Cortez? I know you spoke about him afterwards in the game, but just what signs did you see heading into this game that things were trending in that right direction?
Well, he's had great bullpens, way more consistent in his practice and the things he's done with Max. But I just thought the last 3 innings of his inter-squad game on last Tuesday was the best.
I was thinking his Bluetooth was connecting. That's what I was thinking. But we may have lost Jim Schlossnagle. We'll try to get him back here in a moment. Jim, are you there?
It's like I hear him.
I hear him. Schloss? All right, we'll put him on hold and see if they can talk to him on the other side. And look, one of the things that stood out to me in the post game press conference was like he feels so much better at the end, as his pitches go on. He feels much better as the game goes on, I should say, and he showed that.
Talking about Cortez?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he looked really, really good in his last 3 innings of that Tuesday open scrimmage that we all went and saw at Bluebell Park, and then I thought he looked really, really good late towards the end of his start on Tuesday night. He was the only guy to work into the 6th inning, so I was very impressed with that.
Schloss, for a second we lost you, but you were going on Chris Cortez.
Yeah, sorry. I'm out here moving some horses around in Snook, Texas. Just Cortez's practice was so good, and then he handled the misfortune that he had during the course of the game and kept throwing strike after strike after strike. And I think Max Wiener told me he didn't get to a 2-ball count until his 15th hitter. So that's pretty much dominating the strike zone. So he threw his breaking ball for strikes, both the right and left-handed hitters. And so let's see him do it one more time, and then maybe we can really hop all on board.
I know you spoke about wanting to get a few more of these bullpen arms into game action this weekend before you head up to Arlington. So who are the names that haven't thrown yet that you're really, really trying to formulate a plan to get them onto the game mound this weekend?
Jason Bowden, Brett Antolik, Eldridge Armstrong, and assuming that they're healthy and strong and ready to go, Caden Wilson and Troy Watson would fall in that mix too. But there's only so many innings to go around. The 10-run rule, that's something that if one coach wants it, I think our rule is you have to do it. And whether we're winning by 10 runs or losing by 10 runs in today's transfer portal era, I voted to not have it, with the exception of maybe a getaway day if a team has a flight. But that's caught us a couple times, but to where we have less innings. But some of those guys threw in sim games yesterday. Bowden and Tolik was awesome. Eldridge was good, and Bowden, flashed some 97s. He needs to command the strike zone a little bit better, but those are really good arms that we have to get experience.
Schloss, how pleased are you with Ali Camarillo there at the 9-hole, how he started this year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, how can you be not? He's playing great defense. He kind of wills his way into hits, puts together good at-bats. He'll take his walks. It's so far so good with Ali. He's a great guy. Brings a lot of great energy to the team. It's a long season, though, so let's just see how it plays out and take it day by day.
And Richard laughed a little bit when I said Camarillo. Sorry, Richard.
You pronounced it correctly.
I did.
Mine's always wrong.
Schloss, let's talk a little Weston Moss. Go ahead.
Here's what I want. Dave, here's what I want. Camarillo needs to come on with you guys and do the whole thing in Spanish, and you interpret this. We need a little Latin flair in this place.
Dude, I'm in.
That would be fun. You've already done one with Anderson Garcia, so you'd be great. And as far as pronunciation goes, I'm still trying to pronounce Minnick or Minich correctly. I still can't get that one, let alone Camarillo.
Hey, Schloss, Weston Moss made his collegiate debut the other day, allowing 1 run. If I remember correctly, it was a double to start off, and then he kind of calmed down. Yep. Just what did you think about his first debut, his first game out there?
Yeah. It was awesome. It's actually, in hindsight, he threw a first pitch strike to start off the inning. The guy swung at it and put one past Bender up. And a lot of pitchers in their first college appearance, it would go downhill from there, man. And he just kept making pitch after pitch. He's got a really good changeup. Struck a guy out, and he limited damage. Right, you get a leadoff double. There's a pretty high chance that guy's going to score. Let's just keep it to 1 run and not have the whole inning blow up on us. And so that's an example of what I'm talking about is, in years past, we'd have folded. Somebody would have walked 3 or 4. We would have had to get other guys up, and it would have been real hairy. But Weston did a great job. Super proud of him.
Talking to Jim Schlossnagle here on TexAgs Radio.
Also, we got to see for the first time the energy and excitement that is Peyton Smith at the back end of the bullpen. How did he handle his first experience at Bluebell Park, and what do you think he can provide you at the back end of the bullpen moving forward and into the season SEC schedule as well?
Well, he's got some real unique pitches, and obviously he pitches with a lot of energy and kind of arms and legs and hands and heads and all kinds of things going all kinds of crazy places, which is cool. I mean, it's neat. It's fun to watch if you're a fan. I just want strikes, and all of that stuff is fine if you can maintain your heart rate and execute pitches. I mean, that's all great. Some guys thrive on that kind of emotion. If you think back in the 80s and 90s, Zane, do you even know who Rob Dibble is?
No, sir.
You don't know Rob Dibble?
The Nasty Boys of the Cincinnati Reds, the Nasty Boys closer. Yeah,
no, but I think of the Bird, or who's the guy that the highlights always come around. He was with the Braves, always throwing
Fidrich.
stuff. Yeah, Fidrich.
Mark Fidrich. Come on, man. You got to do some research. Come on.
Sorry.
I'm just messing with you.
Lucci's gonna give me a ton of crap for this segment as well because my research is not up to par. That's the problem.
There might be a 30 for 30 on the Nasty Boys and a guy named Rob Dibble who had a big delivery kind of things going all over the place. He pitched with a lot of emotion. It's awesome. As long as you're effective, I don't care if you kick at the home plate, but it was good for him to knock that out. He's been through a lot. The guy's been through multiple injuries. At one point, he was the number 1 or 2 high school pitcher in the state of Tennessee, and he's been banged up ever since. And so for him to transfer to A&M, pretty much walk on here, have to make the team, and he's got a chance to earn a role. He's very beloved by his teammates. If you watch the energy in our dugout when he pitches, he's a team favorite. So we're all rooting for him.
You bring up Rob Dibble, brings up bad memories. Schloss, I was a huge A's fan. I've told you before. They swept the A's in the 1990 World Series.
And
the Nasty Boys were freaking nasty that year.
My uncle is a huge Reds fan, and my dad has told me stories about that 90s World Series because they got in the car and drove from Dallas to Cincinnati to catch a game. But no, I have not heard about Rob Dibble, although, Coach, I am going to do my research as soon as I get off air.
Do your research.
Yes,
your research, and if you're going to research the Reds, you need to research the Big Red Machine. That was the real
I know all about them with Bench and Rose
Pete Rose
and
Tony Perez.
All of them.
Yeah. So
Concepcion.
There you go. I know we were talking Wally Moon earlier, so you have a lot of work to do, man. You got to get to work on this.
I actually educated Olin Buchanan on Wally Moon and the origin of the moonshot term, so he didn't know about that in the 1959 Dodgers in the LA Coliseum.
Yeah, well, at least Olin claimed. At least he admits he's not a big baseball guy, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Hey, Schloss, what do you think about the start Trisha and the softball team is doing so far? 9-0, looking great.
Yeah, she's so legit, man. We had to go on the speaking tour this fall, various points in the state, so we spent a lot of time together with the 12th Man Foundation, and she's a real coach, man. I tell you what, you better not be a softie because playing for her is not for the faint of heart. She's a real coach. She's going to do awesome. She is doing awesome things here. Had a great weekend. I know they have a ton of games in a real short amount of time coming up, so I really encourage our fans to bounce around between both places. They're certainly close enough to where you can see a lot of great baseball and softball this weekend.
You've said it before that you're such a huge fan of college sports, and with softball off to the start that they're on, but it also conflicting with your season, how much attention are you able to pay to the other programs in season right now, whether it be men's basketball, women's basketball, softball, or any of the others?
Yeah, I try to attend almost everything I can until our season starts. And then once our season starts, I have a lot of things going on with just preparing, watching video. But I'll sit, I came home the other night after our game because we had to play the early game. And I came home and watched the end of our men's basketball game. And I'm sure I'll watch on TV the women's game tonight. I don't get to see a ton of softball, but I certainly pay attention to what's going on. I'm a big fan. And we really are starting to develop a good culture among our head coaches. And to be honest with you, Coach Elko coming in and diving into everybody else has a big part in that. And that's something that's really important in an athletic department. It's really hard to do at a place like A&M because it's so big and everybody's so siloed in their own space. But I've been doing this 35 years, and I have a very firm belief that the culture in the athletic department, yes, the athletic director plays a role, but honestly, it's dictated by the head football coach. And that's not a slam at Coach Fisher, but it is a praise of Coach Elko. He's reached out to everybody. He's been a part of things. He's been visible. And so that makes all of us, communicate. We have a group text. It's been awesome. There's been a noticeable change since Coach Elko arrived.
And he threw quite the first pitch on Friday night, which leads to my next question for any other pitchers, maybe left-handers. Do you have any tips for throwing first pitches for, I don't know, maybe Mr. Billy Lucci?
Yeah. I mean, he claims he has a lot. He claims a lot of great sport performances in his high school career down in Houston. So I'm just ready to see it on full display. I have seen him flip a football around, and it was solid. I got to be honest with you. Kind of a little bit of a Jim Zorn, maybe if he's a lefty for the Seahawks. Maybe a little bit of Tebow. But yeah, we're going to find out. We're going to find out Friday night. So we're going to celebrate Mr. Lucci and his birthday. So I hope everybody's there to cheer him on.
Hey, Schloss, let's finish up with Wagner. Callie, who works for us, gave me a little stat. They scored 14 runs this weekend against North Carolina. They lost, but they can score some runs. Get us ready for this Wagner team.
They can. Yeah, and Carolina can pitch. Older team, if you remember last year, we were playing Portland and Seattle and something like. There's no young teams anymore. Like they're all juniors and seniors. They have a starting catcher who's been on the Johnny Bench Award watch list for 3 years in a row. Wow. Really good player, left-handed hitter named Conniff who can really swing the bat. And they scored on Carolina, and the games were competitive early. I mean, Sunday may have gotten away from them. So I think the wind's going to be blowing in Friday night, but a little bit out and maybe a lot out on Sunday. So got to play well. I mean, that's it. Bottom line. I mean, there's a few people that like to judge our schedule, but I mean, it's going to be good preparation for conference play and the big tournament we have next weekend.
Schloss, we appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right.
And I'm going to go research Rob Dibble and report back to Schloss when I see him later this afternoon at this press conference.
Were you around for the Best Damn Sports Show ever? There was a show on Fox Sports.
No, I don't think so.
I believe he was on that show for a while. He was a broadcaster. And in fact, I think he used to go on the Dan Patrick Show like all the time. He was like a real, he was pretty good as an analyst, if I remember that correctly.
Well, gotcha.
No, so we've learned about Wally Moon, which most of us should have known, but I didn't know the moon shot was named after Wally Moon.
Aggie legend.
Aggie legend. Let's get that statue.
I'm surprised Olin didn't know that one because that is so sports journalism, the nickname. He knows all that stuff. I'm surprised he didn't
he knew.
know
It took a moment for the
clicked.
Yeah. All right, you talk a little more baseball with me when we come back?
Sure.
All right, we'll do that. Troubadour Festival time, a Texas barbecue and music experience returns to where? Texas A&M's Aggie Park on Saturday, May the 18th. And this year's event is even bigger and better than last year. And last year was awesome. I know many people had a wonderful time. The Troubadour Festival is bringing together 35 of the best barbecue joints in Texas for you to indulge in unlimited samples of their incredible smoke creations. And you can't forget about the music. There's live country music on 2 different stages, including this year's headliner, the country music icon Travis Tritt. He's going to be joined by Pat Green, another Texas country legend out there, as well as William Clark Green, the Red Clay Strays, Cameron Sackey Band, and much, much more. Whether you want to experience the barbecue and the concert or just the concert itself, there's a ticket for you, and tickets are on sale right now at troubadourfestival.com. That is troubadourfestival.com. Get your tickets now, and we'll see you at Aggie Park, and that is coming up on Saturday, May the 18th. A little more baseball for you. David Nuño, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Richard Zane with us. So, Callie, read us the note that you have in your notes there, because just to kind of talk about Jace Lavalette, we didn't even get to it with Schloss.
We went how many minutes with Jim Schlossnagle and did not bring up his name or Braden Montgomery's name.
Yeah,
or Gavin Grohovic, who's hitting over 400.
And, there's a reason partially for that, at least in my prep for that interview, is because those guys do get top billing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to get a little bit for Ali Camarillo and the rest of the guys.
I don't say it like that.
I know.
I can't roll my R's, I can't roll the L's, but I'll
Camarillo.
try. Camarillo.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I used to make fun of broadcasters.
I can do the Camarillo.
There was a lady, Minerva Perez, on ABC 13 before I was there, years before, and everything she would say with like total English accent. We're here at Gulfton Bridge and La Vaca.
See, it wouldn't have surprised me if you hadn't gone, I know you went over the top with your pronunciation of Ali's name. It wouldn't have surprised me if that was just subconscious.
It is subconscious. I don't. And in fact, I'm almost embarrassed sometimes when I do it.
Then when you brought it back and you brought up I pronounced it that way because it's well, maybe he did go over the top on purpose.
Ali Camarillo. Sorry, Callie, you got your note for young Richard Zane.
Yes. So Jace Lavalette has 5 home runs through. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yep.
5 home runs through 4 games. And the single-season home run leader at A&M is Dalen Holt, and he hit 34 in 1999 through 70 games.
Mm-hmm. Did we ever get to look up his first 5 games, how he did?
So I looked, and it has his stats for 2000, and he only hit 15 in 2000 only.
Imagine it'd be pretty hard to go find box scores of that 99 season.
Back when I was a senior in college.
Kind of unreliable, the internet just coming around.
It was around for at least 5 years. It was actually around longer, but real internet.
I mean, Jace is off to one heck of a start, obviously. 5 home runs in 4 games. The thing that I was really, really impressed with Jace, he hit 2 home runs on Tuesday night against Incarnate Word. But what he said in the post-game press conference was that he wasn't happy with his 2 at-bats between because it was almost like he was trying to make something happen, and he knows that that's not a good approach. He's hit 2 home runs in that game, but he's not happy with himself overall because he knows he can be so much better.
Remind me of that first home run on Tuesday. Is that the one that looked like it was just going to be a pop out and it just kept going and
kept going? The second one was a no-doubter.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, he is such an incredibly strong individual, and I don't know how long he can keep this heater up and keep this heater going, but I think he's going to surpass his home run numbers from last year for sure, just given this start. And keep in mind that he had a really long slump. Long might not be the best word, but it was a good period of time, maybe a couple weeks, 3 weeks, and he came out of it and lit the world on fire again. So there might be a down period, a lull there somewhere, but he's a mature hitter. He's more mature than he was a year ago, and he is awesome in that 2 spot with Braden Montgomery right behind him.
Gavin Grohovic, we talk a lot about his offense, but he had a couple really nice web gems. I mean, defensively, he looked good.
Yeah, he's been really good manning the hot corner for the Aggies. What I think is really impressive about Gavin Grohovic is that he's probably the best catcher on the team, but they don't need him to catch right now. They've got him at third base, and he's doing a great job of it.
Yep.
And he's a true freshman. And I understand that he's playing McNeese and Incarnate Word, but the approach at the plate, I think opening night he worked a 9-pitch walk in his first AB. He worked a 7-pitch walk later on in the weekend. And he's not trying to do too much, right? He's not trying to hit for power, launch balls out of the yard when he sees his teammates doing it. He's just hitting singles, and he's spraying the field, and he's doing so in big spots with men on board, and he's driving in runs, and I liked him at the leadoff spot both Sunday and Tuesday. I think he's got some staying power there. And, first 4 games of a college career, I know he doesn't have that home run yet, but it's been very impressive just to see the mature approach at the plate from an 18-year-old kid.
Give me a comparison for Braden Montgomery, not necessarily baseball game-wise, but
I don't know.
A guy that comes in and he kind of reminds me of Henry Coleman year 1. I'm not talking about stats. I'm talking about just the personality. He gets the A&M vibe immediately. I hear him talking about all of our traditions as he's coming up the stairs talking to Bronny a couple days ago. Like, he is embraced. He was at Stanford for such a long time. He comes here, and it feels like he's part of the fabric of A&M already.
And I think as far as cultures on campus, I don't think you get too different from Stanford University to Texas A&M University, but it's really awesome to see him thrive down here. He's really fun to talk to, and it's really, really cool to see the fans embrace him. Obviously, they're going to embrace the prize out of the transfer portal, but they have embraced him in a very unique way down that right field berm. I don't know if you've been out there. Have Luke take you one day this next weekend, and you can participate in the Braden's beer chuggers.
I've seen the pictures.
Is what I think they're calling themselves. Man, he's having a lot of fun. He's been really awesome through 4 games as an Aggie, and hopefully he can keep it up.
You asked Schloss about Peyton Smith. He's a guy that, Bronny several times told me as we're leading up to the season, he's a guy you're going to pay attention to, trust me.
Yeah, and it was the game was a little out of hand, right? It was 9-3 when he came in for the 9th inning on Tuesday night, but he called guys off. He made catches on the infield. I'm still interested to see how exciting and how that energy and adrenaline gets ramped up when the game's close and he's actually in a save situation. But the first appearance wasn't anything to scoff at either.
I'm looking at some of the batting averages, and I'm seeing, this was early on, but Targo hadn't gotten going yet. But the offense overall, obviously, has been exactly what we advertised.
If you go, it's 4 games, right? And Coach Schlossnagle will tell you that 1 week does not make an entire season, but 11 home runs through 4 games on a 55-game regular season, because that's what they're playing this year. That would be like 155 regular season home runs, and that's not even including playing multiple games in Hoover or multiple games in a regional super beyond that. So this offense is on an incredible pace, and it's just that. It's a pace. It's not a trend. It's not anything that you need to make too much out of too early, but it has been an incredible start, and it's been a lot of fun. However, I would like to see them manufacture a little bit more runs. I know I think it might have been Saturday's game. Obviously, they won it 6-1, but I think they left 11 men on base in that game. I'd like to see them manufacture a few more runs, get more hits, just base hits with men in scoring position. But home runs are fun, man. Braden Montgomery calls them sick, and they are sick. I
just realized you did what you said you were going to do.
I did. Well, I wanted
Red Wings, yeah.
I was gonna wear my Dylan Larkin jersey because the Wings play the Colorado Avalanche, which is a huge rivalry back when I was a kid. But I didn't want to, show up to a press conference wearing a jersey. So, because Schlossnagle's gonna give me some crap for not knowing who Rod Dibble was when I get over there later this afternoon. I don't need him to give me any more about wearing a jersey.
Richard, thank you, buddy.
Of
We'll
course.
see you tomorrow for the baseball bunch.
Yes, sir.
Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. Go get a documentary done. You don't have to do it like right now, but you really need to be considering it right now because we are not promised tomorrow. I've heard from Aggies out there that they reached out to Chance McClain at the right time because they may have lost somebody in their family and they wanted to have them that story told, and they did it before, and it was great. And look, it's not just about that. It's just about restoring and keeping the family story and name and just some of those great moments for the next generation and the generation after that. That's what we did with my dad. We captured his life story with a Heritage Film documentary. It was 2 hours long. It was awesome. I highly recommend it for everyone listening because every Aggie, every person has got a story, and that story needs to be told and saved and kept for that next generation and the generation after that. So you've got the Heritage Film, which is a 2-hour documentary. Ours was, I think, 1 hour and 47 minutes. You can also have a Year Flicks, which is a shorter 20-minute video, Q&A style, that Chance McClain and his crew do, more for the younger kids out there. They're more of a benchmark video. They tell the story, right? But it's more Q&A fun, and then you follow it up in a couple years, and you have the next benchmark video. Freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, you get your Aggie ring. Senior year, you graduate, you get married. You can have all these and make it a 4-part series there with a Year Flicks. The phone number is 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341, or check out the website, yourheritagefilm.com. Again, that website, yourheritagefilm.com. A little rodeo music for you. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for Around College Athletics. We'll do a lot of college basketball in this segment and beyond that. Brought to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community. Featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. For more information, check out millikenreserve.com. We go to the hotline. Aaron Torres, AT, is with us. AT, what up, buddy?
David, how you doing, man? You got a full segment for me today, or are you going to cut me off midway like last week?
Well, now I think I'm going to cut you off after that start.
Okay.
What's
cool.
up?
That's okay. Now, listen, I'm teasing. I know you guys got a lot of, special guests and stuff like that. I know it's spring sports season. You got to talk a lot of different stuff. I'm just giving you a hard time. It's Thursday. It's almost Friday. I got a little workout this morning, so the blood's pumping a little extra hard today. So, I'm just teasing.
What were you working out on? Give me your plan. I'm curious.
Well, here's the thing. So in my building, we have some cardio machines.
Yep.
So about twice a week, I should be doing it more. We're almost getting towards beach season here. I really should be doing cardio about 4 or 5 days a week, but I do it about 2-3 days a week. So with that, you disagree?
Yeah, I'm not a big cardio 4 or 5 times a week guy, but continue on.
Well, whatever you're doing, not to sound like a weirdo, but seems like it's working for you. I was away this weekend and, whatever. So I was actually mostly cardio today. I was doing a little core work. I was basically done by the time you guys called. So I'll tell you, you didn't hear this from me. The wife, there's an issue in her office. She's been working from home like the last week, and, that's mostly Torres territory right there, Mr. Torres. It's been chaos with my schedule. So I saw the number call. I'm like, oh, my God, I got Nuño right now. I'm not even by the side of a highway. Like, what the heck is going on? So been a busy couple of days, but yeah, I was doing cardio this morning. I was getting the heart rate up this morning. So that's
AT, I saw a tweet from you where you didn't say who you were talking about unless you watched the video, but I knew exactly who you were talking about without watching the video later. Tell us who the weirdest team in college basketball it is, and why is it Texas A&M?
Weirdest team by far.
Nope.
I can't say like the best wins are as good as anybody because most of them are at home. But listen, when you destroy Tennessee, who I still think is actually the best team in the SEC, even though Alabama is still top of the standing, when you outscore Kentucky, when Kentucky's offense is clicking on all cylinders, and I'll say this too, the Florida team that you guys beat about 2 weeks ago, that's a really good team. I think they had won 6 of 7 before they lost in overtime in Alabama last night. That means you can play with anybody. What I've also noticed is that you can lose to anybody, at least in this conference, quite literally, when you get swept by Arkansas in the down year, and, of course, Vanderbilt a week ago. So, you being on the ground, you may have a little bit more insight into exactly what is the problem. But it's weird because, you can't say A&M's the most disappointing team in the country because I think even Arkansas is probably more disappointing if you look at preseason expectation versus where they are. But I think they're in the short conversation for a team that returned the core of an NCAA tournament team, obviously picked second in the SEC to be where they are, which is the fringes of the bubble. It has been a very disappointing year. I know Aggie fans know that, but even as an outsider, I'm frustrated watching this team like that, can't put together 2 or 3 good games in a row.
Talking to Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. So look, the Aggies are struggling. You mentioned Arkansas there. But really, this SEC, as good as a conference as it is, there are several teams that are just kind of in this middle tier, man.
Yeah, it's a big middle tier. No, it's a big middle tier, honestly. I think you could really argue outside of, basically Alabama and Tennessee at the top and Missouri and Vandy at the bottom and maybe include Arkansas there, I think you could argue everybody else is just kind of in the middle. Now, I know there's teams towards the top of the middle like in Auburn, but Auburn just got destroyed at home by Kentucky the other day. Well, LSU's at the bottom of the middle, and they just beat Kentucky at home yesterday. So that's a perfect metaphor is, it's just every single night. I would say this, outside of the really bad teams, and I think Alabama pretty much, even Tennessee, Tennessee was losing to Missouri at the half the other day. I would say outside of Alabama, and I actually think Florida is playing really good, I don't think you really know what you're getting from any of these teams at the top, except for the really, as well as the really bad ones at the bottom, where Vandy's not really going to be competitive, except A&M, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there's about a 12, 13 team group that it's just like it depends on who you play, what night, what's the venue, who's healthy, who's not healthy, all that good stuff.
Is Bama the best team in the conference?
I still think, listen, Tennessee beat them by like 25 points. Now, granted, that was the front end of the schedule, but listen, I know after how everything went down last year with Brandon Miller, like Nate Oates is, he has a reputation that some people are, I guess you would say, underwhelmed by as far as how he handled himself in that program last year. By the way, I'll go as far as to say it's not all his fault. I mean, he has an AD, a school president, whatever. But I bring it up. I think he's doing the best coaching job of his time at Bama. And that's a guy that's won 2 SEC regular season titles in the last 3 years. This is a team, they lost 5 of their top 6 scorers, 2 NBA draft picks. A lot of people don't remember this. All 3 of their assistant coaches got head coaching jobs. And so there was a moment in time this summer where he had like 3 players on his roster, maybe not 3, but like 5. And he was the only one that was around to recruit because everybody else left. So the fact that they're atop the standings, and I said this after, I said this one night this week, I can't even remember, but it's like, I get, like, I don't think they do anything this year better than they did last year. Like, last year you watched and you're like, oh, that's a team that could win a power conference. This year they don't shoot the ball as well. They're not as big. They're not as athletic. Their guards aren't as good. There isn't a single thing that they do better this year than last year. Yet here we are with 2.5 weeks left in the regular season, and they are a team that is trending towards winning a 3rd SEC title.
Talking to Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Radio. What about UConn, man? I know that you're not too worried about them, but that Creighton game that got out of hand in a hurry.
Yeah, I'm not worried. First off, it's hard to win anywhere. I will say, after Saturday, so Saturday they played a top 5 team at home in Marquette. And, I was actually with family on Saturday and a lot of UConn alums and whatever. And, everyone starts asking me, like, oh, my God, are we really going to do this? Are we really going back to back? Blah, 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 this and that. And what I said is like, I take that back. I spent some time this week trying to figure out, okay, like, what is their actual weakness? And I bring it up because really 2 things stood out when you have to dive pretty deep to kind of figure out what they don't do well. They're not a great 3-point defense relative to all their other defensive kind of stats. And then also they're not very deep. They really only play 7 guys. And so I bring it up because what happens on Wednesday night against the top 15 opponent on the road? They gave up 14 3-pointers, best effort that any team's had against them all year. And they also got in foul trouble and they had to go deeper into their bench than they normally do. So that's the blueprint to beating them. But there's only so many teams that can do it because you have to be able to hit threes, but you also have to be big enough to kind of compete on the glass, which is kind of a weird thing that Creighton can do. So, no, I'm not really worried big picture about UConn. Now, can I ask you a question?
I will answer.
Unrelated to UConn basketball.
Sure.
Bro, what is going on with college football playoff? Like, What are we doing? We haven't even played a 12-team playoff yet. And listen, when we were kids and we followed sports, I know it was all about money and power and control and everything, but it wasn't so, like, overt. Like, even just hearing about those meetings yesterday made my skin crawl, where it's just so obvious that the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to throw their weight around, and 12 bids isn't enough, and 7 at-large bids isn't enough. It's like, we're in a 12-team playoff. I feel very confident that if there's 7 at-large bids, the SEC is getting minimum of 4 teams into a 12-team playoff every single year, maybe 5 in some years if you include the conference champion. There's never been a year where the 5th or 6th or 7th best team in the SEC was good enough to win the national championship. It's just like, I don't want to over-exaggerate. There's a lot of real, like, problems in the world. This isn't one of them. But it just, like, makes my skin crawl. Like, guys, we're not even at 12 yet, and you're trying to blow the thing up to make more money. It makes me sick, David. It really does, honestly.
Well, you know what? I might push back a little bit. I don't know how I feel just yet, AT, to be honest with you, because I think it's weird. We don't even have a 12-team playoff yet, but we're already maybe going to expand to 14. But, buddy, how else are we going to make the bowl games matter? Why not expand it? And yeah, you may not have a chance to win, but you might catch. So like, there's a part of me that's like, if that's the only way, because I know that the people are watching bowl games, but let's be honest, there isn't the interest. The bowl games are going the same way the NBA All-Star Game is going, the way the MLB, the Pro Bowl. Like, it's just losing its. People may tune in, but there isn't the impact that it had when I was growing up and even after, right? So there's a part of me that's like, I'm okay with expanding if it's going to make these games matter and make people want to stay in college and make people want to watch these games.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just fundamentally disagree. Let me throw another one at you, and if we got to run,
we're
be
good.
Short. But what is the number where it does start to impact the regular season? Because listen, you and I just spent 15 minutes talking college hoops. I love college hoops, but I think the vast majority of college of sports fans sit there and say, yeah, none of these games really matter in the regular season. By the way, and that's not even like a talking point. It's just factually correct. As somebody who covers college football and college basketball, the interest in a random Florida loss or Texas A&M loss in football versus any team losing in basketball, it's not even in the same stratosphere. And, like, what is the point where we enhance the postseason so much that it's actually at a detriment to the regular season? Because I think 12, to me, is at about the tipping point where you start letting in 16 teams, 14, 16. We're talking 7, 8 SEC teams. There aren't 7 or 8 SEC teams that are good every single year. And I don't know. I think at a certain point, like I said, it's about money, it's about this, it's about that, but it's going at some point to be to the detriment of the regular season. And I think we're getting pretty close to that.
Then how do you fix the bowl games?
Why does it have to be fixed? That's another thing I don't understand. Like, my whole thing is nothing else has been taken into consideration as far as what's best for college football. So why are we now going to fix something that, as you just said, David, nobody really cares about anymore? I think you play the 12-team playoff. I think there's a structure where 6-6 and 7-5 teams can have a postseason game that we call a bowl game outside of the playoff structure, just like we still have it. And let's be honest, like, the LA Bowl sponsored by Gronk with UCLA versus Fresno State, we don't care now. So why does it matter if we care 2 years from now? And there's nothing we can do to make people care about it. And it's like, by the way, I'm not convinced that if it's part of a 26-team structure or a 24-team structure that people will all of a sudden tune into a UCLA Fresno State game. I just think it is what it is. There are a lot of things in sports that were great when I was a kid that aren't great now, and we just moved on from it. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know why things have to be fixed. And I thought the whole reason we were expanding the playoff is because we acknowledged that the bowl structure as it currently stood could not be fixed.
So, AT, I'm going to upset you with this thought. Why not have some kind of wild card playoff bowl kind of thing where a couple teams that are on the tier play in this like mini playoff before the actual playoffs to get into the 12-team playoff? Boom. What do you think about that terrible idea?
No, it's not terrible. I mean, listen, that's like a conference tournament in college basketball. I mean, I would have no problem with that. I mean, but then it's like, how many games are we actually playing here? And like the other thing that I don't think has been taken into consideration, I don't really understand why we have to have, or why we even do have conference championship games at this point. Well, I mean, I understand it's because they make money, but I think it'd be much cooler for the consumer. I mean, I guess I can't say that, but like, I was going to say it'd be better for the consumer to have a play-in playoff game than a conference championship game. I can't say that that's better than Georgia and Alabama and Atlanta, so that's not true. But I don't know. By the way, I have no problem with that. I don't know. I just expanding to just get more Big Ten and SEC teams in. Like I said, it just makes my skin crawl. I know we got to go. One last thing. The whole point of expanding the college football playoff was to include everybody. We haven't even started the 12-team playoff, and now we're trying to figure out people to exclude. It's just, like I said, it makes my skin crawl. It's gross. I don't mean to be overly dramatic, but it really does annoy me.
AT, appreciate you as always, brother.
All right, man. Thank you. Sorry to get so angry there.
Yeah, you got angry. Yeah. Look, I'll send you a hug, a virtual hug, all right?
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, buddy.
Later, bud. AT there on the hotline. Appreciate his time. All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, we'll do a short open segment. We'll get to your text messages, and your thoughts. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Gardner's there. I think we got some text messages, don't we?
We sure do. I want to hit on this one first. Mike in Deer Park said Wally Moon's son coached at A&M Consolidated in the late 80s, which is pretty cool because that's my alma mater, and I didn't know about that. So
You're a Consol?
I am a Consol Tiger.
All right.
Yes. And then Dave in Edmond says promotion and relegation should be discussed when talking about college football playoffs and bowls and all that stuff. It's time to see schools get relegated.
I'd love to see it. So one of the, and I know a lot of people automatically, when anything comes from the soccer world, that listen are like, next. But imagine a world where there are some, like, I know this isn't fair, but I know this is being discussed in Europe right now by a small hand of teams, but where they would have certain teams that cannot be relegated, right? Your money makers, your like, call it 8 to 10 like teams, clubs, I should say, that won't be relegated. But then there's others that could play their way up into this Champions League league that would be coming. So imagine that same scenario where A&M, Texas, Bama, whomever, right? Like you have 20 schools that are good in this league, but then you have maybe 20 other teams that there is, or 20 spots, I should say, where there's promotion and relegation from this Division I status, right? And I think maybe attendance has to play a part in it and success, right? You win your conference tournament, you move on to a certain point, you move up. If you do really bad in this Champions League of college football, you drop out of it and you play in this other league. I think it could work, but I know that there's many anti-soccerites out there. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Logan Lee. We do got to talk basketball. It's Logan time. And I'll ask him that question I asked OB to start off the show. Is this the most disappointing year since when? He'll tell us. That and more is TexAgs Radio. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Not sure if we're going to be able to get Logan here. I know that they've reached out to him a couple times. There's phone issues all over the place, so maybe Nick can send him a text message and see if we can call a landline or something to that effect. That means we've got time to chit-chat. The phone number here is 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. You can call that number. You can text that number. I did want to get into a topic that I think is not a typical TexAgs topic, but I found it interesting. Not sure if you all saw this, but there was there's talk about the Chicago Bears, what they're going to do with that number 1 pick and what they want to do and how they want to handle it. And Justin Fields apparently unfollowed not only the NFL, not only the Bears, but he unfollowed the NFL on social media. So he was on a talk show where they were asking him about it. And they said, come on, man. There's talk about them maybe trading you. You unfollow them. What is that all about? He's like, guys, you have to understand, I'm not unfollowing them to send a message. I'm unfollowing them because I don't want it in my timeline. I don't want to see NFL. I'm going on vacation, and I don't want to see that stuff come up. I kind of believe him. I also think we live in a world where people, I don't even know how many of you, would know that somebody unfollowed somebody. Who is refreshing people's accounts? That's just kind of stalkerish, but whatever. It's news out there. I kind of believe that can be the thing. The most simple thing to do in that situation, because it's happening on the same week that there's trade rumors about Justin Fields, right? The smart thing to do in that situation is to not unfollow, just mute, right? And for those of in our audience that don't play in the social media game, for some people that's the real world. It's not the real world. Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, that's not the real world. It's this virtual world that people go and they develop these fake personas and this voice that they wouldn't have in a normal world. There's a lot of good that comes from social media. There's no doubt. A lot of bad comes from social media. But when you are the quarterback of a team, if I unfollowed TexAgs today and I unfollowed Billy Lucci, I did that a long time ago. If I did all that and people saw that, what do people, Nuño and TexAgs are at odds, and Nuño's probably going to leave. He's going to go to work at wherever, right? And it might just be the same situation. I just don't want to read about Aggie football right now. The season was tough. It was this, it was that. There is some of that, right? But if you're the quarterback or you're the face of a franchise, and he's not going to be the face of the franchise much longer if you believe what the reports out are about the Chicago Bears, who apparently are going to use the combine as their reason to keep or trade Justin Fields. But beyond that, if you are the face of any company and you do something like that, unfollow the team that you play for, it is going to open the door for that kind of speculation, especially if it's within the week that you have followed players from the Atlanta Falcons. So while I think it's all plausible and I think it's certainly a thing, you got to be smarter than that when you're the NFL quarterback, or just not care. Yeah, I unfollowed them. I'm mad at them right now. It's whatever. They want to trade me. I don't want to see their stuff. And that is all natural thing as well, right? As it comes to what's going to happen next week at the Combine and how that affects certain picks. Look, follow the playbook the Texans had last year. Follow that playbook. Follow the playbook that the Niners have had for the last few years. There's certain playbooks that get it done. Chicago has been on the wrong end for a long time. 979-693-1150. So tomorrow, A&M baseball does start their set against Wagner. And the big, I say big, something that we are going to be tracking is if this pitching staff can continue doing what we've seen it do through 4 games. And if they're able to do such a thing, I think we will all be a little bit more like a sigh of relief. But again, then there's the weekend in Arlington. Still a non-conference after that to get you ready for the SEC. We won't know something about this team for quite a while, but I think if you're allowed to use a small sample set, if we're allowed to, feel good about something when we have felt bad about many things, the things that baseball is doing well this year should make you feel very comfortable with the direction that they're going. If they're able to get starters to go 5-6 innings, if they're able to not walk, the batters that we've seen, record numbers that we saw last year, all those things, right? And the offense can continue to mash the way they've been mashing, hopefully not leave too many guys on base, hopefully not strike out too much. But if the offense is producing at a pretty high clip with that pitching, then this is going to be a team that's going to compete for the SEC for sure, which may sound obvious, but you have to have the pitching to compete for the SEC, right? And you may have a better team, you may have a lot of things go in the right direction, but you get unlucky a few nights. It is very important for the pitching to continue going the direction it's going. And if what we saw from Chris Cortez becomes a trend, now you got more options and what that means for you moving forward. And I think you got to be super excited about the direction that they're going. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Gardner's got TayAg and Taylor.
Yes, we do. And they said, given recent results, I don't have faith either Hoops team make the NCAA tournament. That said, I'm loving the early results of both baseball and softball, and this team is starting out like the magical 89 team, and I'm hoping this team finishes the job that team wasn't able to do.
Well, let's talk about that. So when it comes to basketball, I guess if you're asking me to analyze, if you're asking me to be a gambling man and predict something, look, it doesn't look good. You lose 3 straight heading into Tennessee, you're moving in the wrong direction. You were a shoe-in for the tournament 10, 11 days ago as maybe a 7 seed, and now you're not even sure you're going to get in, right? So I understand that. But the record is, am I right, 6-7 in conference play? Am I right about that?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, 6-7 in conference play, which means theoretically, mathematically, with your eyes, they can get to 11-7, right? They can. And what does 11-7 get them? It probably gets them a top 6 seed in the SEC tournament, right? It can. Now, do I believe they're going to win out? No, I don't believe they're going to win out. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see them win 5 straight games. You just can't predict when it comes to this team. But if you're making a decision based on today without seeing how the rest of the 5 games finish out, you're doing yourself a disservice as a fan and doing a disservice to a team that has defied the odds before and played at a much higher clip. The problem with this year's team is those close games more often are falling the other way. Now, there are some in there that you look at, like the Florida game, obviously, the Kentucky game. There are some of those tight games have gone your way. But unfortunately, the Vanderbilt game, both games against Arkansas have been heartbreakers, right? And, oh, by the way, they happen to be bad teams. But you got to look at the totality of the season and look at the SEC tournament. You look at what kind of opportunities they have ahead. Say what you want about Tennessee. Tennessee, if the number 5 team in the country, one of the best teams in the world, you beat their brakes off. If you don't beat their brakes off this time, all right. But that is a game that if you're A&M, you know you can win because you have won against them. South Carolina is a team that I think is trending in the wrong direction, just like A&M is, unfortunately, but you get them at home, and maybe you punch them in the mouth. You've got more experience than they do. They're not used to this. We had Tom Schuberth on the air a couple weeks ago, and even this week say he thinks they're going to keep falling out of grace. He doesn't think they make the tournament, right? I think they do, but they've dropped significantly, right? So if you split those next 2, or you win, right? Now, how do you feel about going to Georgia? How do you feel about hosting Mississippi State? Ole Miss worries me, right? But again, the totality of the season is what it is, right? They are a team that can win these games. And when we become negative Nancy's, we don't want to believe that they can win it. We just want to use the same copy and paste mentality when it comes, well, this is how they played against Vandy. This is how they played against Arkansas. This is how they're going to play against Tennessee. I hope not. Because, let's be honest. The loss to Ole Miss earlier, they played well in that game. They didn't play well enough in the stretches. They had these long droughts of not scoring, but they played well enough. They played really well against Florida, but there were stretches in that game where they fell behind and they had to find the wherewithal. They played fantastic against Tennessee. So you would have thought that 3-game sample set was who they are. So if they won 3 in a row, so they won 2 in a row, then they lost 1. They won 3 in a row, then they lost 3 in a row. Start a new streak. This season's been about streaks, right? If the season is about streaks, you should feel better. What I would like to see, and I don't know if they have the personnel for it, because when they've tried it, it does become worrisome. I'd like to see more ball handlers to allow for Wade and Boots to play without the ball, even though their game is predicated with the ball. But the way Arkansas played them, the physicality and putting 2 or 3 defenders on Wade when he got close to the paint, and of course they have a big man that can block the rim, I'd like some other options and potentially move the ball to the weak side and see if you can cause some mismatches on that end, especially with the amount of traffic that Wade Taylor has been seeing. You need some more physicality. You need more ball handlers with some physicality. Boots is fantastic being physical, going attacking the rim. But if he becomes one-dimensional, he's not hitting his outside shots. It becomes, all right, let's just put as many people in the paint as we can. The offense does become too predictable, right? You kind of know what's going to happen, and when they take it out, you wonder how they're going to score. Buzz has found ways before to get that offense clicking. And oftentimes it has become giving the keys to one of the best players. And it's not like, look, Houston played great defense against Wade, and he still was able to find his way. So sometimes you just got to clear out and let him do his thing. And I think he will find his thing. But the key for this A&M basketball team, it is absolutely the key. Yeah, they need better offense, but they are who they are offensively. They need to play 40 minutes of hell, right? Play that old school style of basketball defensively, because while as hard as it is to do for an entire game, when they bring that intensity, it fuels their offense, and I think they've got the personnel to do that for long, long stretches in a game. You can do it with Solo. You can do it with Anderson Garcia. You can do it with these guys. I think you can do it with Jace Carter, right? But it has to be the defense fueling the offense, because the offense isn't good enough. Now, when it does that and it leads to a couple open threes, and now you start clicking, because they are such a streaky team offensively. But the defense doesn't have to be streaky. The defense shouldn't follow the offense. The offense should follow the defense, especially with this personnel. So who's got to be better? Everybody, right? But offensively, you can't have your 2 stars struggling offensively. And when that happens, you need some other guys to step it up. That may sound like obvious to you, but the way the reason I thought they were going to win that game is they silenced Wade for so much of that first half, and I'm like, he's going to catch on. And they caught on. They were able to hit some shots. And then when you get momentum to go your way, you can't have mistakes. Like in a 2-minute game, you hit a 3, you're within 3. Like, you can't have a 4-point play followed up. You just cannot. You have to be smarter. You have to be better. So is there a path to the playoff, to the NCAA tournament? Yeah, there's a path. You cannot give up hope because of the 3-game losing streak, although you can start charting the losses, right? I understand that. Had we done that, and I think it's Calvin who had earlier in the season on the TexAgs chat, who had given up on them, and then he was all back in. This team is just so inconsistent, you never know. Can they be consistent enough to get to 500 or better? If they be consistent enough, because, they are right under 500. A couple of games ago, they were right above 500, right? If they can get consistent enough to be at that 500 mark, then you feel like, all right, and the way this team does play in tournament settings, they're good, man. They've made it to the SEC final the last couple of years. Am I predicting that this year? No, I don't even know what's going to happen against Tennessee. But if you can believe that they can make the adjustments needed, I don't see Wade and Boots having bad games after bad games after bad games. I just don't. So keep it close against Tennessee on the road, and hopefully Wade or Boots goes off. Find some momentum there to beat South Carolina at home. If you beat number 5 and number 20 back-to-back, and I know those are big ifs, and many of you are out there like, there's no chance, there's no way that this is going to happen. If you are able to win those next 2 games, Now I think you're in the tournament, right? Like you're at that point 8-7, and you've got games at Georgia, Mississippi State, and at Ole Miss. That finished finished convincingly down the stretch. You're right back to where we thought they were a couple. They're probably not going to be able to work their way up to where they were after the Tennessee game. But again, there is a path there. It feels over because you lose to bad teams. You got 2 top 25 teams ahead. Split those, you're okay. You're not great, but you're okay. Win those, you're back. And then you got to just not have a collapse. And they had a collapse. Can't have any more collapses. You have no more wiggle room. The only wiggle room you have is to, and you really can't. You need to split these next 2. I love the 2 victories. You need to split these next 2. 4 straight losses is going to hurt. They've got to be the better team against Tennessee. And that is one thing that I think we have learned about Buzz and his team, right? They do find their backs are way against the wall. And you hear that said over and over and over and over. But their backs are against the wall enough to where now they've got to have that counterpunch. They have to absolutely have that counterpunch. When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, we're going to do Around the SEC. We'll get to your phone calls and your text messages before we start the fan show. Right now, though, I need caller number 1. We're going to give you a free car wash from Aggie Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership. We're going to give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Express in South College Station. 979-693-1150. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Matt Tack on the YouTube page did ask a moment ago, Nuño, any chance TexAgs crew will make the trip next weekend for the baseball games in Arlington? So the answer to that is yes and yes. So we're going to be split up. Bronny will be at the games in Arlington. I believe Zane's going to I might be wrong there, but I believe Zane's going to the games as well. But Lucci and myself are going to be hanging out at the Angry Elephant in Little Elm, and that's going to be a Q&A. We'll be doing that Saturday, March 2nd there at the Angry Elephant in Little Elm from 5 to 7 o'clock. So in between, baseball and basketball happening around the same time, come hang out with us at the Angry Elephant in Little Elm, 6 miles from Frisco. I know I've been to Little Elm. I just can't picture when I have, or, I'm sure I've driven through it. So there you go. 5 to 7 on Saturday, March 2nd. Come hang out with us. Go to Arlington for a little bit, then come hang out with us and watch the basketball game. I think it'll be fun. It is now time for Around the SEC. Caitlin Torres is in the house. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
You notice I had a British accent on the ye?
Yeah, that was different.
I don't know why I did
heard that before.
Yeah, I don't know.
Came out of nowhere.
I got some issues. What's going on in your world?
Kind of a lot around the SEC. The first thing that I want to talk about is this new revision to the 12-team format.
Yep.
The college football playoffs. They just came out they did the unanimous vote to revise it, that the automatic qualifiers are going to go from 6 to 5 for at least the next 2 years.
Right.
This 5 and 7 model is the 5 highest ranked conference champions and then 7 at-large bids, which means the 4 teams ranked the highest would be seeded 1 through 4 and each get a bye first round, which would be huge for them. 5 through 12 would play each other, home field advantage for the highest ranked team. I wanted to ask you, though, how big does this make winning a conference championship?
Well, it's before the initial 6-6 plan was if there was a real Pac-12.
Yeah.
And when the Pac-12 basically dissolved, even though there's the Pac-2, people were like, no, we're not going to allow the conference champion of a 2 to get into the playoffs. So this, I actually think, helps the Pac-12. And absolutely is going to be important. But if you're the SEC or if you're the Big Ten, you're going to get 3-4 teams in anyway. You're probably going to get, between those 2 conferences, you're going to, if there's 5 conference champions, that leaves 7 spots left. Let's say 3 for the SEC. Now you're at 10. Yeah, I don't know. I could see how the SEC or the Big Ten are going to be fighting for those last few spots.
Yeah.
The way the SEC looks right now, it's TBD. We don't know how that's going to look this year. Ohio State's the only one that's really, to me, that looks like the front runner in the Big Ten. It is important, but it's important just to be one of those teams that gets the at-large, right? Because an early loss does not necessarily derail your season moving forward.
Right. They've also started talking about going forward, maybe adding it to 14 teams going. What do you think? You think that's too many? Think that lets
I don't.
Easy
I mean,
wins in?
I understand the every AT. We had a whole segment on it. I understand that there's devaluing the regular season. How about making the regular season matter? Right? There's a making the bowl games matter, making those games, making postseason football matter. Maybe we have to kind of rethink the way we look at it. I have no problem with an expansion of it. Do I think the 14th or 15th or 16th best team is going to win the national championship? No. Okay? But having a chance, the top 4 teams that have, if you're the best team in the country, and I doubt Alabama's going to lose to the 16th, we've seen these playoff games get out of hand, right, for just 4 teams. But if you're having more SEC teams and more Big Ten teams in there, now we got ourselves a real game. I'm going to read this one from a 979 real quick. Or actually, Callie, why don't you read it? The 979 one.
791.
I'll read it.
Okay.
I'll take what Nuño spoke in this morning about basketball. Okay. Did I sound that optimistic about basketball? I thought I sounded like a realist.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about that during the break.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about during the break. I was still on the football track, but yeah, we were talking about that during the break about his text.
Was I super optimistic, or was I just?
I wouldn't say super. I thought you were normal.
So normally I'm super optimistic?
No, but I didn't think it was over the top.
Look, if you're asking me 979, hold on, KPAG 92, KPAG, if you're asking me if I think they're going to win out, no, I don't. What I'm saying is we cannot write the story just yet. And especially with a Buzz Williams coach team. We're going to get back to the SEC, all right? You just hold that. Especially with the Buzz Williams team, right? Like, because he does find ways to get the most out of his team when it feels like it's over, right? And it's not over. There are still games left. Do I like their chances on the road against Tennessee? If I'm going to be a gambling man, I'd say no, I don't like their chances. But I am super pessimistic before every game until the game starts. And then I think I'm super optimistic. I am being very transparent with you. There's every game of Aggie football that's ever been, right? Not every game, but most of them. I'm like, I can see how they could lose this game. I don't know how they're going to win this game. And then the moment the game starts, like, we're going to freaking win. We're going to beat them by 50. I'm an emotional wreck with Aggie sports. That's just the reality of it. But I do believe that they get the most out of their team often. I probably shouldn't have gone into this impromptu around the SEC, but I wanted to get that out there. Continue on, Caleb.
No, I'm with it. It's power of positive thinking.
Is it positive, or is it just, let's see how it plays out?
Yeah, I guess it's a little of both. Anyways, on to basketball. On3 gave an updated look into which teams are close to securing a 1 seed for the March tournament coming up. After looking at the NCAA Tournaments Committee as they ranked the top 16 overall seeds, the teams they have that look like a 1 seed lock are Purdue, UConn, even after their big upset by Creighton the other night.
Purdue lost recently, too.
Yeah, and Houston also in a possible 1 seed lock. And then has the resume for a 1 seed is Arizona, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Conference title hopes are Alabama, Kansas, Iowa State, Duke, and Auburn.
Let me tell you why Tennessee won't get a 1 seed. Because A&M is going to go to Knoxville tomorrow.
You are positive today.
I don't know if they're going to win that game. But I'm just saying, if they do, and they beat them twice, might knock down their chances. I'm just saying.
Might knock them down. Going to baseball, SEC West number 1 seed Alabama lost their starting pitcher this week, Riley Quick, after he got a Tommy John surgery on Tuesday.
That was unfortunate for them, yep.
Yep, he threw 3 hitless innings and logged 5 strikeouts against Manhattan College on their opening day. So huge loss for their pitching staff this year. Also, true freshman Colin Fisher had 5 shutout innings, allowing only 3 hits, 4 strikeouts, and no walk-ons for his debut game in Arkansas. SEC announces some co-player of the weeks after week 1 of baseball.
And why Jace Lavalette wasn't on there, I don't know.
I don't know. He got screwed. Georgia's Slate Alford tallied an SEC best of 15 total bases.
That's pretty good.
9 RBIs,
pretty good.
3 home runs.
Pretty good.
In an opening game against UNC Asheville. And then LSU's Hayden Travinsky batted a .636, going 7 for 11. Had 1 home run, 4 RBIs, and 8 runs scored, leading the Tigers to 3 straight wins over VMI.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. After
I still think it's Jace, but I got marine goggles.
After week 1, 7 SEC teams stay undefeated. That's South Carolina, Georgia, Kentucky, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, and the Aggies. And 4 SEC teams are undefeated across the diamond, so softball and baseball. That's Alabama, LSU, Georgia, and our Aggies. So looking good on the diamond for us. Going to basketball, number 2 Tennessee beats number 14 Missouri by 5 points last night, and Missouri is still yet to win a conference game. Missouri was actually winning at the half, and Tennessee is continuing to struggle to get off to good starts. So let's hope they keep that ball rolling on Saturday when they play Texas A&M.
And they just have a bad finish too. Let's get both. Let's get a bad start, bad finish.
That's all we need. Mississippi State beat Ole Miss 83-71, which splits the season series and also breaks their tie in the SEC rankings. Big buzzer beater by LSU taking down Kentucky last night, 75-74, with Tyrell Ward's put back with 1 second on the clock. As LSU stormed the court, Angel Reese actually got clocked and taken to the ground, but she tweeted that it was all worth it.
All
she
worth
was
it
super
for
excited.
Yep.
SEC with the SEC lead in jeopardy, Alabama beats Florida 98-93.
Big game there. It was went into overtime. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Of course.
When we come back, everybody's favorite, the Fan Show, all about optimism. So we'll chit chat with them. Before we hit a break, let's talk about Rollo Insurance, the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance to anyone in Texas and several other states, and they've got over 45 offices here in the great state of Texas. Their headquarters is on Highway 6 right here in College Station. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for the
Fan Show.
Fan Show.
The old school, too.
Old school fan show. Brought to you by Gerard Construction, by the way. Custom home builders for the Brazos Valley since 2002. They don't just build homes, they build relationships. Learn more at gerard-construction.com. People are a little disappointed the last couple of weeks. There's been some pessimism on the fan show. You weren't so pessimistic.
I'm never pessimistic. I'm Mr. Optimism, you know? But we got Roy May back.
Roy, are you on the pessimism train or the optimism train? Baseball and softball, I know you're optimism train.
Baseball and softball are through the roof, man. How could you not be?
How could you not be?
How could you not be? Baseball and softball are through the roof, man. Baseball and softball, I know you're optimism train.
A baseball and softball are through the roof, man.
Women's basketball, I still love where the program's going, and I think the announcement of Joni Taylor going with the national team just furthers your confidence in the program. But it's just to let it play out thing. I think it's where we were with Trisha Ford. In the beginning, got to teach them how to win, first, and kind of build the program, build the confidence. And last year was almost a bit of a wash considering how many injuries Joni had. So it's quasi first year still to an extent. Men's basketball is just like bipolar. And the fact
Kanye.
I would almost put money on them. I would almost put money on them going to Tennessee and winning because of course they are. Of course they will. Why wouldn't they just go to Tennessee and
South Carolina after that, right?
Yeah. And then lose to Consolidated.
Blowout.
Yeah, by 30. So there's just it's been such a weird season watching basketball, and especially with all the all the optimism and hope we had preseason, which obviously everybody's always optimistic in the preseason, but
sure.
But we had legitimate reasons to be so.
Yeah.
It wasn't just blind optimism, but just the way the season's played out. And the non-conference, I thought, it helped kind of boost the confidence. Even the ones that we lost, they were tied against good teams. I mean, you take Houston to the wire. Mm-hmm. You have some big comeback. So I thought non-conference gave you a lot of confidence. And then we got into conference, and we're still waiting for that February, March run.
So before we ask you what's on your mind, Callie's going to do that here in a moment. I gave her an assignment. Have we figured out why cell phones across America are down? And you said the numbers aren't as high as I thought, right?
So as of early this morning when I read it, the numbers weren't as high. They're climbing. Around 10 a.m. it says there were about 72,000 people that were experiencing outages, and Cricket Wireless, who is owned by AT&T, also is experiencing outages. And AT&T claims that about 75% of its network has been restored, but not sure how true that is. And local police stations are tweeting that people are calling 911 to test their service, and they're encouraging users to not do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
People are the absolute worst. Is that not the dumbest thing on the planet to do? Call your mother. How about that?
I still have no service as of right now. So I'm an AT&T customer.
I am too.
And I have no service on my primary line, but I also have a business line attached to my phone, and it works fine.
Oh.
And then my wife's phone, who is on the exact same
working great.
Is working great.
Yeah.
Mine's not working and my wife's is. They're on the same account. Everything is the same, and her phone works, mine doesn't. It's the weirdest thing.
My phone's fine.
And none of mine. Are you Verizon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Verizon seems to be working. T-Mobile seems to be, but the AT&T people are the ones that are struggling.
This question got posed to me earlier today.
It's been a very pleasant morning, by the way. My phone had just been blowing up.
I got this question earlier, hey, what do you think it is?
I know what you think it is.
I think AT&T sucks. That's what I think it is.
I had a guy tell me this morning that he thinks.
But it wasn't just AT&T early this morning. There were several out this morning.
I had a guy tell me, one of my customers tell me this morning that he thinks he goes, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but
then you are.
Then you are.
Yeah, that's like saying no offense. The most offensive thing is about to come out of their mouth.
Yeah.
Well, and I saw something on Twitter there was a solar flare that almost coincided with it. I'm just like, you know what? How about this? Just live without a phone for a couple hours and don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Well, I have two, except my show needs the phone to work, and sometimes when we call guests, the phones aren't working. So
that's fair.
There is that. Callie, you can ask the people what's up.
Yeah. First of all, how are we? How are you? Each of you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Great weather the next few days.
Yeah.
Yes. It's been a little warm, surprisingly, for February, but good baseball weather for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what's on your mind this morning? Talk to us about how we're feeling.
Matt, you start us off.
Well, yeah, I think it's up and down. Mm-hmm. It's what a weird way to come in today. We're being so up from the baseball team starting the season looking like what we predicted. But the pitching being that good.
Yep.
What did they say? There's 41 strikeouts to 7 walks thus far.
I'll take it.
I'll take that all day. That's awesome. And we knew the offense was going to be good with that team, but the defense, the pitching. If we get good pitching with that offense all year long, that's an Omaha team all day long.
Yep.
And they are really good. But then on the flip side, I don't know, man. It's such a weird, mind-boggling thing with this basketball team. You go, we talked about this a little bit last week, but you go and you play, you beat a surging Florida team, a very scrappy Missouri team, and then you house Tennessee at home, only to go lose at Vanderbilt. Now, I don't think there's any shame to losing to Alabama, but the way we lost to Alabama by 25 points and just getting complete. I mean, they shot. Yeah. I mean, it was just crazy. And then to turn around and lose their third in a row, and you're going and get season swept by Arkansas. Yeah.
Who's not good.
It's one of those things like his seasons coming into this. We even said it after the Tennessee win. This is where
we turn it on.
This is because every year, remember we had 8 games. What was it? 2 years ago, we lost 8 in a row, and we won out. And we still didn't make the tournament. You remember that? We
won until the Tennessee game.
Yeah,
the Tennessee final.
We finally did lose to Tennessee in the final of the SEC championship or the tournament, and then we went to the NIT. But and then last year, same thing, where we struggled, and then we turned it on, and it was great. That's what it looked like. But now I don't know what to think. I really don't. I don't understand this team. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me as to how and why these things are happening, because you're seeing the same effort. You're seeing that shots just aren't falling. It's just weird.
Give me the why, Roy. Why are they struggling?
Because they're not hard to figure out. This shouldn't be a mystery. We don't shoot well. We basically have 1.5 offensive weapons. Right? We have nothing down low. Hustle. We'll never question the effort of this team. Absolutely. We don't shoot well. We don't recruit shooters. So what do you expect? Look at the last 3 games. How hard has it been?
You really got on the chuckle.
Blanket Boots and blanket Radford, and you win the game. It's really simple because nobody else can shoot.
Why is it so funny?
We have 1.5.
What?
Sorry, that got me.
But what's funny about it is that seems to be shifting every game now. Some games Wade will go out and he puts up 8 points. And so we knew that. We knew the stats that when Boots scores so many points, we've only lost like 1, right? Because Wade's going to do his thing. But now if they're flip-flopping, they both have to be on because you're not getting offensive production from anywhere else. Jace Carter, if we can get him squared up and do it properly and he actually can shoot in rhythm, he's starting to show that he's capable.
Here's the truth about what you just said there. You're not getting offensive contribution from others because they're becoming primary scorers when they take your guys out. You need Wade to go off. Oftentimes to open up Boots, but Boots has found his rhythm up until the last game. If Wade is able to score, it allows Jace Carter to score. It allows for Anderson to score. It allows for others to be part of the offense.
Well, what's weird is I think I saw this on the board somewhere. It feels like Garcia's our third best 3-point shooter, so just let him start hucking it up.
Yeah, when he shoots, I do think it's going in. It
was like the first one of the year he shot. I was like, oh no, what are you doing? No. Yeah. But now it seems like he squares up and he's pretty solid with it. So it's not hard to figure out because the teams have figured it out that we're playing. Obviously, they're going to have to find production from somewhere else if they want to play in a postseason that matters.
If you were a betting man today,
no,
you wouldn't bet, or you wouldn't bet they would make the tournament.
Oh, if I get to put my money on either side, yeah, sure. I could gamble on that.
Oh, I'd bet.
So you think they'd make the tournament?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
No. That would make that bet right now. No, we're not making the tournament.
The problem is,
I hope we do.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So you don't think that they can win? What? There's 6 and 7, 13, 5 games left. You don't think they can go 3 and 2?
I think they probably need to go 4-1, first of all.
Yeah.
But this goes back to, we talked about this when we had Jimbo teams, like they don't fade, they get better at the end of the year. Well, yeah, but you put yourself behind the 8 ball, so we're running out of games. That's the problem right now. Like we're on a 3-game losing streak and we have 5 games left. And 3 of those are on the road and one of them's at home to number 20 South Carolina. If you just look at your odds, you don't got to like it very much, right? So they're going to have to do something special, and it needs to start with Tennessee. And I know that's like the tallest of task of the 5 left, but do you think you can lose to Tennessee and then rattle off 4?
No.
Yeah. Because then you're on a 4-game losing streak and you lost the team pretty much.
Yeah,
they're thinking like, well, great, NIT, hopefully.
And now we're about to go back to Tennessee, who has not forgotten what we did to them here.
And they're still mad at Buzz, apparently.
Yeah, our fans chanting overrated. Those players remember that. They're going to come with an intensity that they probably hadn't played with yet this year.
Well, and the crowd and the students.
Well, hopefully they do. Hopefully they come with that intensity, and they're so focused that they get their butts kicked. How about that?
I hope so. I do.
You are being positive today.
I love it.
No, I said hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I predict it.
Now, if you had to put $1,000 of your own money on it,
I would predict that they would struggle in Tennessee, in Knoxville. I would.
Would you predict that they would not make the tournament?
Yeah, today I would tell you they wouldn't make the
If
tournament.
you made me put money on it, I would say no.
But I also can look at that schedule and think that they can split the next two. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But then they need to win out. Like you need to get I mean, that's a tall task going to Olin to end the season at Ole Miss.
If you go 9-9 and have an okay SEC tournament, you might get in.
I think it needs to be a little bit
better. You go in
than
as a 10 or 12 seed. It's possible.
Yeah. It needs to be a little bit better.
Because
than
if you split with a number 5 or number 20, that's another quad 1 win. Like that is good. They start stacking the quad wins.
That is the weirdest thing. We've got more quad 1 wins than anyone in the conference, but we also have more quad 3 losses than anyone in the conference. That is the Jekyll and Hyde. You talk about bipolar. Yeah, this is a crazy team.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll probably get some more basketball in, but I do want to focus on something good.
Diamonds.
Yeah, diamonds are forever, as the great Jay-Z once said. Well, he's actually... No, excuse me. It was Kanye West and Jay-Z on that song. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with more. It's TexAgs Radio. Apparently, I got scars on my neck now. That's could be a good thing or a bad thing. Time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12-979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or one large topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Fan Show presented by Drawer Construction. Gentlemen,
You do look like you've been in a fist fight, though.
I basically have.
You have been in a fist fight.
So for a
He
while,
has scratches all in the back of his head right here.
It's just MMA, man. It's just grappling. It's what
just
it
grappling.
is.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Well,
I missed for a while, like with my parents were sick and holidays, and like I had been out of practice, so I made it a point. I was like, I'm going as much as I can this week, and my body's paying the price.
Paying the price.
It hurts. It hurts. It's a good price though. All right. So when it comes to Aggie baseball, what's the ceiling? What's the what do you think, guys?
Well,
like, is this team?
I'm not going to say the ceiling because that's one thing. There's still some superstitions involved in baseball.
Yeah, baseball.
I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
But you feel good.
I think the ceiling is
as high
as you want to put the ceiling for this baseball team.
Yep.
Obviously, barring injuries and health, which is always a thing. The Alabama pitcher going down, just kind of freak stuff like that. This offense, I think, is going to set records. I think it's going to set school records this year. I think Bronny was right preseason talking about breaking the home run record. I think the floor is incredibly high.
What did we hit? 11 in the first 4 games? 11 home runs?
Yeah, 5 the other day. Yeah.
It's insane.
So I think the offensive power, and it's not just them bombing the ball away either. It's their plate approaches are so good and they're so disciplined. And getting to see the talent of Montgomery and Schott and seeing even in just a small little sample, seeing Grahovic grow. And it's the smallest of samples, right? 4 games.
And how much better Lavalette is this year than he was last year. He
was
great last year.
He is straight up the violence.
Yeah.
Is he the best athlete on campus? I don't know. Athlete's the right word. The most productive player on campus?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to put metrics on pitchers because they don't get as many chances. Because I would say what Prager did on Friday night
was fantastic.
But you're saying across campus. You're talking about is he better in baseball than Wade is in basketball, or is he better in baseball than?
I mean, granted, we have a whole season of just about a whole season Wade and a tiny little snippet of Jace, but I mean, there's really not a ton of
at
reason
Wade's
to think it's
peak,
gonna slow down.
at Jace's peak, and at Connor's peak. Like if
I'd
Connor,
say, what about Terry and York? Maybe York. He might be our best player on the football team.
Yeah, but chicks dig the long balls. It's all about offense.
It is about offense. But like when you think about like when healthy, like Wade has still had a really good year. I know
Wade's been
the basketball's
great.
been struggling. He's had a great year.
and he was preseason player of the year for SEC, and so I think our expectations were way too high. What we were truly expecting him to do, what we think we're going to go out and roll 38 a night, like probably not, but we thought about it maybe.
Sure, but and now we have sky-high expectations for Jace based on last year and the start.
I love the question that you posed. I'm going to still say Wade's still the best player because we were only 4 games into baseball. But let me come halfway through the season, I could change that pretty easily.
Well, let me ask you this. Who's got the most upside from those 3?
Oh, lovely.
Is Wade at the top that he'll be?
Yes.
Connor?
Wade's at the top of where he will be because of the scheme and the offense that our
I think some
runs.
physical limitations as well, right? Like he's not the biggest dude.
Yeah, right. I mean, Wade won't be an true NBA prospect. Not saying he won't play in the NBA, but he's not a true prospect. But Lavalette is built like what they're looking for in the
first round.
Yeah,
MLB
could
pick.
Jason's got first round potential. Connor, I think, is still just an incomplete body of work for us to honestly. Like we've seen him play, but we haven't seen him put a season together yet.
Yeah.
So just from what we've seen, I mean, I think upside, I would probably say Jace because I think he's a legit first rounder.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch the Johnny interview at all?
I have not yet, but I saw it.
I did.
What'd you think?
Well, the thing about Johnny is always when Johnny gets into an interview, he does say the right things, right? I mean, and to come out and say, how bad he feels about not only the 2013 season, and he sat there and he listed the guys he felt he let down, Cedric Abuehi and Jake Matthews and Mike Evans and all that, and he said he felt like he let those guys down. Then to go to the league and to when he brings up a guy like Joe Thomas and says, Joe Thomas is at the end of a Hall of Fame career, and they draft me and give me every single thing that I need. This is what he said. He said, they gave me every single thing that I needed to be successful, and I basically pissed it away.
No, I've read an entire roundup and all the quotes. I just didn't see the whole thing.
So for him to at least be able to, one of the things that's real frustrating is when people screw up and they're not willing to admit their faults, right? It's another thing to say, you know what, hey, I messed up. And I see what I did. Not only what I did, but I saw how what I did affected other people. And affected people that I cared about and all that sort of stuff.
We call that maturation.
I think that's good.
A 979 number sends in, talking about the best players on campus. How about Julia Cottrell, an All-American in softball? Sonia's at top of the rankings at tennis. Give them some love.
Yeah, and Emily Kennedy. I think Kennedy's better than Cottrell.
Lamar Diston. Hello.
If you had to pick the best one off the team, I think I'd pick Kennedy over Julia.
Yeah, look, they all deserve your love. You're exactly right. I think we reserved it for the big three sports.
But I'll tell you right now, you asked about the ceiling. I'll tell you about the ceiling in softball. I think softball absolutely has the opportunity to be challenging for the SEC title this year.
I love that. Love to hear that.
What a start. And you think SEC baseball is tough? Man, softball ain't any better. And when the Sips and OU get here, softball is going to be even worse.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate you guys. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Thursday tomorrow. Billy Lucci, Mark French, the Baseball Bunch, Olin Buchanan, and me. We'll see you then.